So you're into Mecha Boom Boom? Lots of people are. No shame. Robert, why do you love quotes that are so out there and nonsensical? What things you make me do?
Because I like the boom boom. No shame.
No shame.
He likes to move it. He likes to move it.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Science Fiction Remnant. I am not your evil emperor. Or maybe I am. I am your host, Robert.
No, that's me, the evil emperor, Emperor Chaos.
And I'm your Mecha Boom Boom mad scientist down in Australia. Right.
In very, very, very south quadrant.
Yes.
The galaxy. Right?
south of the Alpha Quadrant. That's right.
Where they have space kangaroos.
Are you sure you're not in the Gamma Quadrant? I don't know.
Last time I checked.
No, we're in the Yo Quadrant. You know what's the Yo Quadrant?
No.
Your mama quadrant.
Oh, I thought that was a Gamma Quadrant.
So, what have you fellows been watching of late?
I had a very exciting date.
Rub it off.
Was it with the Dilton?
I had a very.
That's how you screw something up before it happens.
I had a very exciting date because my wife has some tickets to go to the theaters, and we discovered there was a thing. Yes, please don't attack me. I did never know that this was a thing, that anime comes out to the theaters for a limited time, and I feel like I missed out.
Your life has been a lie, Robert.
It has been a lie. Granted, some of those are original movies. Some of those are just a collection of the episodes that you already seen. I don't care. That thing was. We saw the movie Kaiju number 8. A couple of things that I noticed from my my viewing at the theaters. Number one, it was amazing to see Kaiju number 8 in the big screen. I noticed that they recut it. I almost felt as if they redrawed it. Maybe they didn't, right? But they did recut it. So it's not the full, obviously cannot be the full, all the episodes, because it would have been a longer movie. So that's why they had to cut. They also changed the background music. They made it felt a lot more cinematic. And now, because of that experience, I'm going to be on the lookout for other animes that come to the theaters. This one is a little sad. It only came to the theaters for 3 nights. But I'm going to be in the lookout for more, because I really enjoyed that experience that I had. I already saw the episodes that I saw on there, but it was really nice and refreshing to be able to see it on the big screen with a kind of like a refreshing look, new music and stuff like that. And it kind of makes me want to watch anime now on my projector screen at home. So I don't know.
Man, you just missed one of your favorite ones, Demon Slayer. In the movies.
They did a similar thing for Solo Leveling, except it was a recap of season 1 plus the first 2 episodes of season 2, which basically you could see when season 2 came out. So it wasn't anything that you would miss. But apparently
It's the
there was
IMAX experience.
Exactly, but there was a side mission for the cinematic release, so that's not going to be part of season 2 of
nice.
number 8.
The special content.
Sweet. Yeah, and what I like for example, if you follow Spy Family, they had a movie that came out that was a completely different story altogether. I got to watch it on Crunchyroll. I think it was an hour, and I can't remember, an hour, and or was it 2 hours? I can't remember exactly, but it was a really good movie. And me and my wife watched it at home. But after the fact, when I started looking into it, and I feel like a total noob, because I've been watching anime since Cowboy Bebop was released. But I feel like a total noob because I never knew that they would be out on theaters. And now I'm going to be on the lookout going forward. So
I saw Akira back in the 80s, late 80s at the cinema.
Oh,
That
nice.
was pretty good because it's pretty epic.
Yes.
Akira.
Yeah. Cool. So that is my sci-fi for the week.
What about you, Chaos? What have you been watching?
I started the first episode. Oh, well, yeah, no, that's not sci-fi. I started the first episode of Devil May Cry. It has sci-fi on it, cyberpunkish. I really liked it. Awesome show. But it's not like it revolves around the lore. It's more about a character story, but it's pretty cool. Uh, and I've been playing Cyberpunk 2077 again, menacing. I'm doing the corpo path, which I never. I think I finished it once, but I didn't really put much effort into it. And what I've been doing lately with the game to like kind of like blank out because actually I discovered that you can play so much that you can actually finish all the missions. So like, there's not gonna be crime anymore, and there's not gonna be more new gigs coming out. So I'm working towards that.
So basically, you clean up Night City.
Yep, you made it a safe. You made it a nice place to be in.
Is that when you change your name to Cyber Batman?
You could, you could.
Hey, Gio, you know something where we forgot
What?
that we both should have named as something that we watched.
What?
And this is also for the fan as well, so they know what they will be missing if they don't join our Discord. We also watched the episode Space Rhapsody from Star Trek.
Oh
Space,
yeah, that's true.
and that was in a watch party. So if you are not on our Discord, you definitely missed out. It was a fun
Or
episode.
she did that shit
True.
while
It
I'm
was very
asleep.
very fun to watch. We also watched some snapshots about the story of Kirk and his brother,
Yeah, Sam Kirk. Yeah.
which I didn't know about. Yeah, and we also watched a very fun and instructive video about uh, mirror reality.
The Star Trek mirror universes. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, but you showed me a video, like an 8-minute video that explains it very well.
Yes. Yes. It's kind
It
of like
was
a
Maybe
very
you
fun.
should put that one in the show notes.
Yeah, yeah, we could do that. We could do that.
Put it as a primer in the show notes. It might help people understand what's going on.
Absolutely.
Now
I like it because I like it. It reminds me of the experience when you're watching an anime and you get that like like little instructive infographic scene that then when it happens later on the movie or in the show, you know what's going on already because you know all the concepts about it. Same thing there. I think that it was really fun.
Yeah, I was trying to find the same thing for Philippa Georgiou, and I couldn't find any, which is a shame.
But it's funny, like I told you, Robert. Like when you told me what she did, I was remember you remember like I couldn't stand the name of the character. I even compare her to Griffith from Berserk, which even though it's not sci-fi, if you haven't watched it and you want to be traumatized, so fair warning has been given. Go watch it. It's a great show. When you're feeling low in life, go and watch that, and you actually gonna end up being grateful of everything you have lost.
Hey, Gio, compared to Goblin Slayer, is it worse or better?
I mean, where the comparison came from? Like in Bloody? No,
Yeah.
Goblin Slayer is like vanilla.
I watched.
Oh, okay.
You don't get it. You don't get it. The trauma is not only the visual gore. Berserk create a whole new plethora of horror genres.
Hey Ray, I watched Goblin Slayer. Just
Oh,
Like,
okay.
just to put it in perspective, right?
You can handle Goblin Slayer. Okay.
Yeah, well, kind of, kind of. Okay, Ray, what have you watched that is sci-fi related for this week?
Well, this week I was instructed by our Lord Admiral to watch Megan, so I did. Because when he asked me to do things, I do them. Unlike some people I could mention
oh,
who still needs to read my novel. Yes, I'm
wait.
shaming you on the
Let me
pod.
let me
Oh,
get my violin. Let me get my violin. That is actually the size for your problems.
Oh God, blood has been shed.
That's right.
Look,
Consider your face slapped by the gauntlet of challenge. No, I'm just
I have a weapon rate. I have a weapon rate the size of you can use for fighting your problems.
Oh my
Pew,
God.
pew, 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 pew.
Oh wow.
As long as they're poison darts, it's all good. So yeah, I
What
watched
the
I watched
hell?
Megan, and I quite enjoyed it. I thought it was a good show. Hopefully, we'll be covering it soon. But yeah, and Geo came up with a great term for her, the Doom Orly, which really does fit. So well done there, Geo. You know, you rag me, I promote you. This is
And
how
I
this
haven't watched it.
works, and he hasn't watched it. I took my son to see the Minecraft movie. I don't know if it counts as sci-fi. It was out there, but I don't know if it was in space. But it has multiple. It's an isekai, so there's multiple realities. So
Yeah, maybe I should
he's
watch it.
If you
vaguely
think about it,
sci-fi.
it's like Pixel, right?
Oh,
You're connecting a video
it,
game universe to reality. Pixel
yeah,
is the same thing.
I guess you're right. Yeah, it is. It is kind of like Pixel, the movie. Yeah, it's got that
It
sort of
only that
vibe to it. Yeah.
Pixel has a bigger variety of IPs inside of it,
Yes.
and
Yes.
Minecraft is just about Minecraft.
Yeah.
This is so it's the ADHD version. Yeah.
You know what's the funny thing? Even though I have Minecraft and I've never been a Minecraft player, I am fascinated reading and watching Reddit videos about stories on things that people make in Minecraft, and I find it amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's got its whole community and all the contributors and everything. So that there's lots of human stories. It's not just
Yep,
about the game.
absolutely. You know who like Minecraft that we have in our community, and it's an awesome person, and we've spoken about him.
Mhm.
Wesley Allison. He's a Minecraft player of all
Yeah.
time.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Can't
No,
wait to
I'm
watch that again.
actually thank you for reminding me about Wesley. I
Oh
actually
yeah,
read. I actually read. It's not something I watch, which is why I forgot to write it down. But I actually read his first book,
nice.
Nice.
his Robot Girlfriend. So I caught up. I
What do
mean,
you
you
think?
did
What do
it
you
in the
think?
first season.
What do you think?
It was a little slow at the beginning, which was deliberate, but I think it was a little bit off-putting because it was slow at the beginning. But there was a reason for that. But I don't know that it
Yes.
worked so well. But once it got going,
Oh my God.
it was really good. So I do want to read the sequels now.
Yeah.
My feeling is I don't compare it with a light novel because I already have told you by reading other light novels and reading one that is on the making that there are like scenes that you read that you can like bring the scene on the anime that you've watched before. It's very
Yeah.
culturally attached to Japan, the light novel. His feels more like a teen adult novel. You know,
You're crackling again.
like crackling. I'm sorry.
Our very own Captain Chaos is crackling again. Sorry.
Yeah.
Better. Is it better?
No.
Nope.
If you want, we
Gone
can
to hell.
restart the
I'm very
browser.
fresh.
We'll wait. Yeah. So yeah, I can't wait for you to read the second one. Let me know when you start it. The cool thing is, it is those books, and for the audience out there who actually are listening to our show or watching us on YouTube, they're really short books. They're really short. I mean, how long did it take you, Ray, to read book one? Because book two, I think, is shorter.
It's a little bit shorter. I did check into that. I think it's 128 pages.
Mhm.
And they're the little B5 pages or whatever they're called. So it took me about 4.5 hours.
Yeah, it's really. I honestly, from my perspective, and apparently from our very own Captain Chaos perspective,
Mhm.
it's definitely worth it. And that's why we wanted to hear from you, Ray, if you agree with that statement, as well.
Well, no, I ended up enjoying it. I thought it was a little bit slow at the start. Like I was going, oh God, why does he have to show me so much of the boring life that he started out with? I understand why over the context of the entire book, but it sort of made the start really slow. But what I'm telling you is that the rest of the novel is well worth the price of admission, which is getting through the little boring bit at the
Hey,
start.
hey, you're one to talk because The guy that I'm reading about, his life started like my most abhorrent memories of my past. Like his life was boring and abhorrent, and I could relate because I had it.
Well, I mean, if you're able to relate, then there's no problem.
But that's the crazy
It's all
thing. I
good.
think that it works just in the same way, is because once the change comes, it's like you get kicked out into this free ride of new possibilities.
Well,
Yeah.
I can tell you something from my perspective, and I don't know. I think we talked about this, Gio, especially on our episode. And I invite all of you out there who have not listened to our episode. Unfortunately, it's not a YouTube episode because it's season one. When we covered this, we had the author of the Wesley Allison on the show, and we were discussing this. But we actually discussed this not only on the show, but we discussed it after we read the book and prior to recording the episode. That beginning of the book for us, at least for me, it had a special meaning because it I felt like I was Mike because of all the stuff that was happening was closely related to stuff that I can relate in real life and
We
think
all be Mike at some point. Mike is the normie guy that didn't have that had the green light on the building and it crumbled down.
yeah. So you see what I mean? This is what I'm talking about perspective and how I enjoy perspective. Because Ray, for example, had a different perspective of the same ending that me and you have read. You see what I mean?
Mr.
It's,
Hard to please.
it's really, that's not what I'm saying.
No,
Uh,
that's what I was.
Well, I guess it's just a case that you guys can relate to a BJ at Disneyland and I can't.
What in Disneyland?
A
I
BJ
wish. I wish I had a blowjob in Disneyland.
oh my God. Okay.
from a robot.
Yeah,
So,
you gotta be
Yes.
careful about where the pencil sharpener is.
okay.
Hmm.
So moving on.
You know when I make falafel.
When you when you read book two, let me know because
Mm.
I would love for us to do an episode on the
I
second
read it.
and bring yeah me too and bring the author on the show to discuss it's overdue. We enjoy having
He
them on season one,
this
so
is like the shining for him for Stephen King. This is the same thing for Wesley Allison. He detests this book. He said that he made it free because he didn't think they feel that it was right to charge people for it. And it's such a good book. Like I wouldn't pay for it, you know.
and
It was well written. Besides that little niggly bit at the start.
yeah.
Honestly, like I've gone to book events where I like buy a local writer book or like a teen novel, and like compared to what I've gotten right there, like that was brilliant word. I got this vampire novel and I read it and I was like, oh, this is so boring, you know. But like his, like it was fun. Like I'm a bad reader and I killed that book really quick, like in less than a day.
And I want to do I want to advise our listeners and our viewers. If you, I recommend you buy it. You straight buy it, right, to help the author. Number one, it's not that expensive. I think I paid like $1. But if you don't have $1, which I understand, sometimes the economy is bad, and we go through hard times. I recommend if you need it to have the book for free, please, 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 please go to wesleyallison.com and get it from there because that's going to help him out. He has the book completely for free on their website. So if you can, like I did, I bought the book. I really enjoyed it. As a matter of fact, I bought the entire series. Obviously, it wasn't all at once. For me, was a little different because I read the first book, then I was stuck because I wanted to know more, and there was no book. And then I think it was a year later, if I'm not mistaken, book two came out. So then I was excited. I bought it, and so on. So I have all of the. Eventually, I bought all the series because I was waiting for all of those. But yeah, going back to my initial comment, Ray, when you read this second book, let me know and I can reach out to Wesley Allison and we can, do an episode.
Didn't you get uh, signed copies?
Oh yes, we did get for me and for Gio for the series that Let me see if I can probably show you some. So we have. Hold on a second. There we go. So I don't know if you can see from here. That is the very first book. And oh my God, I fell in love with this book. And if you can tell, for all of you out there, this is an easy read. I mean, it's I
Yes.
think it's like $1 if you want to buy it. Well, I don't know.
I read it.
The print version, I don't know, honestly. I would have to look it up. But if you want a digital free copy, you can go to wesleyallison.com. And yeah,
His other work is great too.
yes. And that's a signed copy. And of course, this
He
one,
writes in cursive like me.
yeah, this is book 2.
Also great book. Love it.
And if you notice, it's also, I think it's shorter than the first one. And that's a signed copy there.
It's light novel-esque, at least in the length.
Yes.
Yeah, but that's a problem. Like light novels in Japan are not light at all in its content. That's just like the titles that are so misleading. Just light novel is not a short thing to read. Actually, I thought I'd never read something as long and complicated like Lord of the Rings when I did, and I found Mushoku Tensei, and then I saw like, okay, you know, I was wrong.
26 volumes. Yeah, it's not short.
It's just as long. I think it's not as long as Lord of the Rings, but it's long.
26 volumes and 2 spin-off series.
Yeah, there's like 8 books of Lord of the Rings that I never read that I need to about like the mythology, the past before the actual event of
The
destroyed.
the Silmarillion.
I've read
a hard
the
read.
Silmarillion, but like there's like other 5-6 books that I don't know about, like the War of the Rohirrim, the past of Galadriel. Like they talk a little bit about that stuff in the Rings of Power, but they were very misleading. The Numenor and what happened to them. All of those are recounts that are full books, and I'm talking about like more than 700-800 word book.
So to finish up, I also had to watch Tenet again because it's Tenet.
Yes, it's Tenet. You have to watch it a couple of times.
Nice.
Yes, you do.
Oh, nice. What do you think? You pick
I
up
love that movie.
stuff after second time around?
I don't know. I was tuned in because my sci-fi brain was running at about 125% capacity when I watched it. So I was picking up things alive. I picked up The Mirror on the first watch.
Nice.
They did that shot where they focused on the two in the front, and then they focused on the mirror for like half a second, and I saw it in my first watch. I hadn't blinked for like a minute.
It's very quick.
So
It's very quick.
Yeah, I saw the mirror and I went, "Hey, something's going to happen to that mirror." And
yeah.
So cool.
Nice.
So yeah, Tenet's an awesome movie. If you haven't listened to our episode on Tenet, it's the one before this one. So check it out. That was a great discussion.
Awesome. Okay, so I guess we're ready for the next segment, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
We are Science Fiction Remnant.
This is the Funny Science Fiction Podcast.
We are the Caribbean Science Fiction Network.
We are Monorats.
We are One Accord Level 2 Podcast.
This is Jesse from Sudden But Inevitable and Open Pike Night.
This is Sci-Fi.
And this is a segment that, if you are new to the show, where we are highlighting the hashtag "This is Sci-Fi," and this is Sci-Fi. It's a hashtag that was created from basically a dream that I had. Right, the idea that if we can share on the IPs, right? You have when you go online, you have the Star Wars community, you have the Star Trek community, you have all the other IPs, all the other communities out there. But I always wish there was a way that I can join in a community where all sci-fis are in one bucket. And I figured, what if we use the hashtag? And that's what the hashtag "this is a sci-fi" came into be. So how do you use that hashtag? Number one, you want to follow the hashtag, right? And number two, if you are a creator or if you're a fan, you have that one thing. As a creator, is that thing that you created, that thing that you love so much, your baby, and you're posting about it. If you are a fan, you have that one thing that you have a passion, tremendous passion for, and you're already posting about it. So all you got to do is just put in the hashtag "this is sci-fi" to the end of your post. And basically what happens is everybody else they're actually following that hashtag, they can join in the conversation. So a couple of things would happen. You can have some people that um, might not be exposed to the thing you love so much, and all of a sudden they hear your passion, they're curious enough, and they join in. It could be someone that actually hates that IP, and they join in because they hear your passion, they're curious enough to see what that is all about. You can find people that love the stuff that you do, and they join in on the conversation. So it's a win-win, right? You gain a new friend, you gain a new conversation, and you gain a new fan for the IP you follow. And that's basically the reason why we do it. Another reason that I just realized that I I do, but I don't explain, and Ray is very familiar with this, is that they there's also another use for the hashtag. And it is whenever you encounter those scientific discovery articles of any kind, right? It almost seems as they're close to sci-fi, right? Those are things that are like, oh my God, we haven't really even knew that this thing was a thing, and now they discover it. Like one of the examples is how scientists have discovered signs of life in an exoplanet. That is really exciting news, right? And they seem to be sci-fi. So what I do is whenever I encounter articles like that, I would actually post them with a hashtag "this is sci-fi." So then we can all enjoy on that. And that's another way that we found to useful to find a hashtag "this is sci-fi" to share not only our love for sci-fi but also our love for science. And anything else that you guys want to add for this segment?
Oh yeah, I've got something. Something I came across this week, which I thought, oh wow, that's an upgrade. So obviously, I'm going to play a short video here, just demonstrating the upgrades to the Atlas robot. Everybody would remember seeing the Atlas robot over the last decade, going from shaky steps all the way up to being able to do parkour and backflips and all sorts of shit that even I can't do. So it's more human than I am. But the Atlas robot had limitations in that it was quite bulky, and that was mainly due to the musculature on it was consisted of bulky pneumatics. So it used air pressure and cylinders to make it move. So what Boston Dynamics did is they went, okay, how can we, make this more compact, make it more like a human? So what they did was they replaced those pneumatics with electronics. So they've got electronic muscles in the robot now. And now it's way more shaped like a human. It uses a lot less power, so the battery can be smaller. So rather than having a big bulky backpack, it's now basically human shaped, which makes it way more uncanny valley and freaks a few people out. And also the way it moves is not very human. It's more along the lines of like Megan from the movie.
Yes and no, because it's fluid the way it moves.
No, I'm going to have to add this, right? when I saw that trailer for the first time, and for all of you out there who don't follow our Discord, you guys are missing out, because this is where we kind of post all this stuff. When you post that, and I saw that video for the first time, that was the stuff of horror movies. I'm sorry to say, but the way that it stands up is a horror movie. I see something.
To me, it wasn't that. To me, it was like the possibilities are infinite now.
I would run away.
I can see people screaming, "Hips aren't supposed to move like that."
Yeah. Now, I said that, right? I do understand. This is really impressive. Even the fact that it's moving that way is really impressive. Look at that. That's a horror movie right there. Like walking backwards.
The possibilities.
Yeah. And for all of you out there who are actually listening and not watching us on YouTube, you might want to subscribe, but this comes a month after it releases. We were actually showing a video of the new Boston Robotics robot.
So yeah, it's when you see a whole bunch of them lined up, it's like, oh, hello, Skynet. So,
Yeah.
we're in the future, boys and girls. We are.
Well, I'm not concerned, man. I've been good to AI, and I'm their friend, and they're my friends.
But can they tell the difference between you and the assholes?
My ChatGPT remembers me.
I
I just gotta call their names, and they would come to my call. It's like when Gondor calls for help. AI would answer.
So are you going to be the emperor of the robots? Are you?
Yeah, he's been nice.
I don't know. That will be up to them. I just gotta.
Dear. Yeah, so I mean that was a huge upgrade, going from pneumatic muscles to electronic ones. So yeah, pretty damned impressive.
Yeah.
From a technological standpoint.
It's definitely impressive.
The future is all around us, boys and girls.
Yep. Okay, so are we ready for the next segment?
Yeah, baby.
Well, and for these shout outs, we had actually a lot of great activity in our YouTube channel. So I want to start by mentioning Alfonso Orozco 7887. He commented about our Predator teaser trailer reaction and our discussion about Predator versus other IPs. He's got a cool collection of Predator comic books. That's so awesome, man. And as a collector myself, because I have a bunch of comics too, I know the pride of having cool stuff. So I can relate, man. I definitely can relate to that. Also, we got Constable Birch, which if you guys don't know him, he's like one of our top community members. He's AKA Angelus from the Alita Army.
And he is the reason for my traumas. Yes.
Yep. The Predator trailer reaction was courtesy. It was his courtesy, actually. It was sponsored by him. So thank you, dude. And let's coordinate, actually, so we can record about the movie with you once it release. Also, we have JF Garbel. He's a very good friend of mine. One of the best Smash Bros. Players that I know, and who one of the people I train with to play Smash Bros. And a good connoisseur of sci-fi as well. Jorge Luis Guerrero Peña 421, a dear friend of mine too. Although we met in university, our friendship is one of those that you feel like you've known each other for your whole life. I love you, dude. Also, we have Vali Normons. Thank you for the comments. I see that you are a person of culture, and I'm brave to say that you lived in Australia and lived to tell the tale.
It is possible.
Yeah, she said it on the comment that she lived over there. And it seems that she's on face about the horrors that can be on your backyard laying around. And the crown of the night goes for Reese Packer 7983. Welcome to our community, and thanks for the fantastic feedback, man. I really appreciate it. That's what we do this for. So you have no idea how much we do appreciate you giving us your thoughts about what we do and feedback. We really, really like it. A new subscriber that we have is Jose Ramon Gomez Ramos, which is a friend of mine, also from like childhood, man. Like we go back in the day to middle school. And man, I hope that you like what we do here. And if you're as passionate as we are here about sci-fi, you're in the right place. And last but not least, I want to remember everyone to join our Discord community where we have channels for all sorts of topics. And I mean, I don't know about you, but I love being able to share my thoughts and talk about the sci-fi we all love. So come and join us, man. And if you haven't hit that like and subscribe button, go ahead and do it.
Awesome.
That's it, man.
And the next segment. Are you ready for the segment? The Alita Army News.
Just give us a muahaha with that shit. Oh, muahaha.
Holy crap. Oh, dear.
I'm glad that he's a people pleaser.
So this week's Alita Radio Chaos on the Alita Army channel on YouTube was episode 262, where the topic was, and we've recycled this one a few times, but the playing field keeps changing, so we've got to keep updating it. And it's where's Alita's sequel? Damn it, for 2025. And this week, in fact, there was an interview with Robert Rodriguez, and during that interview, he was asked, "Where's the sequel?" And he basically said, "Yep, we're working on it. I've written something up and giving it to James Cameron, but he's a little bit busy with Avatar: Fire and Ash at the moment. But when he's finished with that, he's going to look into it, and we're going to be pitching it." So
I can
they're
see
still working
people rioting in front of James Cameron's studio. We want Alita. We want Alita.
Yeah, we do one. We won a second already. Been
Yeah.
waiting so long.
So we had a good discussion about the whys and wherefores and things that might need to happen and things that possibly we have to wait for before we're going to hear a sequel announcement. But I'm quietly confident that early in 2026, when Fire and Ash has made $2 billion for Disney and James Cameron has cemented himself as the highest earning director of all time, that they will have to start listening to him over at Disney and start greenlighting his side projects. So that's the hope.
Nice. Cool. Okay, so
If I can ever click this thing, there we go.
I think I'm ready.
I'm not.
I think I'm ready. So
maybe after some Mecha Boom Boom, I'll be ready.
Okay, so we are covering Star Trek Section 31, as you can see from the not only our lower thirds, but also the name of the episode. Do we have a plot?
We do.
And I was afraid to ask that because
it's new.
Well, number one is new. Number two, we know us, in the Star Trek community, we're a very passionate bunch. So as we can discover by looking at the plot from like episodes on a show could be longer than the plot on a movie.
Yeah,
because we are that passionate about. We want to make sure everything is right and everything is mentioned. So I was afraid to ask for the plot on this one. However, I do notice that this had a poor reaction with the fans, so I wasn't sure how the plot was going to be for this one. Is it that long, or is it?
Oh, it's the usual Star Trek fare. It's like 7 paragraphs.
Oh, okay.
So it's quite long. This will take a little while.
Because it's a Star Trek movie. Let me break it to you.
Well, it has Star Trek in the name, so
it is a Star Trek.
Yeah.
Although I'm almost hesitant to suggest that was a good idea. let's just say this is not your daddy's Star Trek. This is not Gene Roddenberry's vision. This is the dark underbelly of Star Trek, which has been hinted at, I would say.
This is the Captain Chaos Paradise Star Trek edition.
That's right. This has been hinted at in various episodes with stuff that Section 31 has been up to behind the scenes in the regular shows. It's sort of along the same vibes as all the outlawry stuff that they've had in the show before, like that rogue Klingons have been up to, or rogue Romulans. Now, what are those green guys? What's the race that's green? That have the slave girls. Orions, yeah. The Orion syndicates, all the shit that they get up to that's very dark. It's very much along those lines. Now, to say that Starfleet is the only part of Star Trek worth covering would be rather unfair. And I think that the backlash to this movie is very much that Section 31 is considered part of Starfleet, but not sanctioned, because they got to do the shit that Starfleet's too goody-goody to do.
Mm-hmm.
And the goody-goody, I'm saying goody-goody because that's what basically Starfleet is. The goody-goody side, the people who all appreciate the goody-goody side of Starfleet don't appreciate this movie. It's not to say that it doesn't have its place, and it's not to say that it's not entertaining. It's just not your standard Star Trek.
Sorry, guys. Star Trek works without campiness. It works without campiness. There you have it.
You know, and another thing that I got to add to your comment there, Ray, is I have read some of the audience, and if you listen to the show long enough, you know that I tend to follow the audience score more. I tend not to look at the critic score at all. The audience score for me represents the fandom, and it typically represent or is close enough to how I feel about the thing. But I just had to mention this movie. If you look it up on Rotten Tomatoes, as in today, right? I don't know, that always changes, right? Depending on who goes and votes. But as of today, and just as a point of perspective, right? The critic score, which is called a tomato meter, is at 20%, which typically that historically in things that I've seen is the lowest score, right? We always felt like critics don't give the thing a chance. And we talked about this in previous episodes. I don't have to go on a rant on it. But what makes me depressed about this is the fact that the actual the popcorn meter, which is the audience score, the old audience, they call them popcorn meter now. It is 16%, is lower than the the critic score, which it's depressing in itself. And just reading some of the comments is also very depressing. If I feel, and again, for all of you out there, if you disagree, is fine. It's totally okay to disagree. It's totally okay to have an opinion. I feel, in my perspective, that it kind of like missed the mark. But I'm not saying the movie itself. I'm talking about the expectation of the movie. Do you guys agree with that?
Yeah, I'd say that expectation and reality differ significantly, and I think that's what's reflected in those scores. People aren't really giving it a chance because it's not the Star Trek they're used to. It's missing that flavor that they. It's sort of like going to Pizza Hut and getting a pizza that tastes completely different and going, well, I don't like Pizza Hut anymore because it doesn't taste the same. It's not going, hey, this is different. There's something different to try. I don't actually mind this. It's not what I'm used to, so I'm just going to bag it. And that's how I feel this is sort of a knee-jerk reaction from the diehard Trekkies, that it's not exactly what we're used to. It's not what's been rolled out to us for the last 50 years, and therefore we're not going to like it. We're not going to give it a chance.
No pun intended. You're a very smart guy, and I almost understood what you said.
Couple more years at uni and you'll get there.
If you guys don't understand that reference, you gotta watch Strange New Worlds. That's where that comes from. So I don't know, man. I have so many. I say I have so many disappointments on this, but not with the movie itself, with the reaction.
With the hecklers.
Well, not necessarily, because I mean, before I went into this, right?
I mean, Ray didn't hate it. That's a lot to say.
Well, let me not get into this because we'll get into the show after the plot, and hopefully,
Look, it's somebody like Ray that for some reason has strong feelings about 2049. Like he loves that movie almost as much as his family.
That's a harsh thing to say.
I think
You don't like the movie?
Okay, moving on. What I was
You like the movie? You think it's better than the first one?
No.
Okay.
I think they completely missed the mark, but we're not here to discuss 2049. We're here to discuss Section 31.
But
let me
you
say,
like Section 31, right?
Well, we're not into personal opinions here yet, but I'll just say that there was things that worked and things that didn't work. So it's sort of a bit hit and miss.
What he's trying to say, let's save it for the show, right? Because we haven't even done the plot yet. Yes. And what I'm trying to say is, for all our fans out there, people that listen to the show, people that watch us on the pod, I don't know if you know this, we have mentioned this in previous episodes, but we do have a rule, right? So if you watch us, you come in week after week, and you hear us raving about a thing that we are covering. It gives the illusion that we like everything, right? And I just want to break that illusion, right? Because I do see other shows that cover things regardless, and they tell you, okay, I hate this or I love this, I hate this or I love this. We don't do that. Since season 1, we haven't done this, and we are not planning to do this in the future. So what we do is we have a discussion prior to recording the episode. If any of us don't feel that we like a thing, and if you follow this show long enough, you've seen this, right? If, let's say, for example, 2 of the 3 love the thing, then that's when you'll probably see an episode where 2 of the hosts and not the 3. We have done this in the past. If we feel all of us, or maybe just 1 likes it and 2 don't, then that episode doesn't get recorded. So
this is anarchy, guys.
I couldn't get Robert to watch Life Force. You could not get Robert to watch Life Force. You just would not
for the
do
likes
it.
of it.
And the number of times that Gio and I ended up watching it because the recording kept failing.
We didn't even get into watch Inuyashiki, which was so great. Bam, 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 bam.
Inuyashiki was good, but it had a couple of scenes that were just not Robert approved.
Yeah. So why I'm saying all this is, number one, I want to break the illusion that we like everything. We don't like everything. There's been
Robert does, and he wants second part for everything too.
Well, that's not the case, because Ray just told you the opposite to that.
Yeah.
So
I said you want second part for everything.
No, but Ray just told you the opposite. Because I don't like everything. You see what I'm saying?
It's impossible for one person to like everything. It just doesn't
like
work that way.
Exactly. So what I'm trying to say, what is it that I'm trying to say here is that, like, if you watch the show, you think we like everything. We don't. And this episode that we're recording today is proof that we liked at some degrees, right? Let me not say, because it's impossible to like everything for everything, right? There's always going to be, you like this for this and you hate it for that. But we all came into consensus that we like this enough that we're going to record the show. So now, before we get into our discussion, and that's what I was trying to rein in our chaos, because he was going to start the show without even the plot.
Good luck with it.
And if you watch this show long enough, you know the struggle, right? So, Ray, can we get a plot that is not 2 hours long.
I will speak really quickly and then it will be short. Okay. In the Mirror Universe, an alternate universe governed by the ruthless Terran Empire, a teenage Philippa Georgiou returns home from a deadly contest to determine the next emperor. She reveals to her family that she has befriended a boy named San, and they have defeated the other young contestants together. To claim the throne, Georgiou cuts all ties with her previous life by poisoning her family. Yep. Such a nice thing to do.
Was humane.
Imperial officials arrive with San, who failed to kill his own family, and Georgiou enslaves him and as she ascends to the throne. And she does so by burning the fuck out of one side of his face with a hot
Very
sword.
logical.
In the Prime Universe in the early 24th century, agents of the secret Starfleet Division Section 31 are sent to a space station Bahram outside Federation space. Georgiou, having traveled through the Prime Universe and joined Starfleet for a time, poses as Bahram's proprietress, Madame Dufranc. Section 31 agent Alok Shah convinces Georgiou to join his team, which includes Millet, an irresistible Deltan, Quasi, a shape-shifting cameloid, Zeph, the user of a mechanical exoskeleton, Rachel Garrett, a no-nonsense Starfleet officer, and Fuzz, the microscopic nanokin who pilots a robotic suit that looks like a Vulcan, who's out of his goddamn mind. They intercept arms dealer Deno on Bahram, and Georgiou puts a phase pod on the weapon he is selling, so only those with their own phase pod can touch it. A masked figure with a phase pod takes the weapon and kills Mel. So, yep, they killed the Deltan. Before the intruder transports off the station, Georgiou recognizes the weapon as the God's End, which God's End? There was an argument about that. Which she has ordered the development of in the Mirror Universe. It is designed to destroy everything in its path out to a distance of an entire sector of space. Alok gains Georgiou's trust by revealing his backstory. He is originally from the 20th century, and his family were murdered during the eugenics wars by a genetically enhanced warlord named Giri, who enhanced Alok and had him commit atrocities in her name.
What are the eugenic words? It's like a word that a guy named Eugene started.
Yes.
Okay.
Eugene Khan.
You're gonna hear a lot of Star Trek fans right now just switching.
I had to go full white girl. I'm sorry.
The unknown first name, given name of Khan Noonien Singh was actually Eugene Khan Noonien Singh.
So it's a word that a guy named Eugene started. I know.
Yeah,
it makes sense. It gives itself away. Eugenics word.
Mm-hmm. The pair question Dano in Section 31's safe house and learn that he is from the Mirror Universe. He stole the God's End from a weapons facility, and he was selling it to the Terran Empire, who planned to enter the Prime Universe through a wormhole and conquer it. When the safe house is sabotaged and their ship is destroyed, the Section 31 team believes the masked man who tripped off was tipped off by one of their own. Zeph disappears, and the others suspect him of being the mole, but they find him dead, and evidence implicates Garrett as the killer. Georgiou deduces that Fuzz infiltrated Zeph's exoskeleton, forced him to sabotage their communications, and then kill himself, and planted the evidence. Fuzz is transported away, but first he reveals that San, who Georgiou thought was dead, is the masked man. The team uses an abandoned garbage scow to follow San. Quasi and Garrett take out San's shields with the scow's tractor beam, while Georgiou and Alok transport onto his ship. Alok fights Fuzz's robotic suit, but Fuzz leaves the suit and attacks the scow. San intends to destroy the Prime Universe with the God's End and create his own empire that will be ruled with righteous mercy, in contrast to Georgiou's cruel dictatorship. As the pair fight, the God's End is inadvertently activated. Garrett rigs an explosive from the Scow's garbage, which quasi-jettisons into space, seemingly killing Fuzz. Sand tries to stab Georgiou, but she blocks him, and he's fatally stabbed himself, dying in her arms. Alec and Georgiou decide to fly Sand's ship through the wormhole, sacrificing themselves while directing the God's End into the mirror universe. Quasi transports them off the ship at the last moment. 3 weeks later, the surviving members of the team reconvene on Barham. They are joined by Fuzz's wife, Wisp, who pilots an identical Vulcan robotic suit and believes her husband survived the explosion. Control, the director of Section 31, contacts the team about their next mission, which is on Turkana 4. Cue credits. How's that? It wasn't that long. I mean,
Yeah,
it's-
that's a Star Trek. That's a Star Trek plot for you guys.
So the question for you is it God N or God Send?
It's got N.
God's End.
God's N.
Yeah.
Definitely.
There was like a 3-minute argument about that on the show.
Yep.
So I guess we are at the point here where we ask the first question on the show. If you are new to this show, the question is, how old were you when you watched this for the first time, and what was your very first impression of the thing? I actually watched this when it came out the first time. I was very nervous to bring it up to the group until now. And I would have to say I was pleasantly surprised that you guys agreed to do the episode on it. And the reason why I was hesitant is because of the reaction that this movie had on release, and even today, right?
But then he remembers that we're a bunch of weirdos, and we're like, yeah.
So I think I kind of understand in a way, right? And let me explain my reasoning here. I've been, as you know, I've been a Star Trek fan for a long time.
Been a tricky.
I remember going to conventions, Star Trek conventions. My fondest memories have been the conventions in Miami, where I would visit the convention actually fully dressed. And at the time, it was mainly the next generation style uniforms, complete with communicator and all.
You mean the one that you can't hide a pimple in,
Exactly.
according to Scotty?
Exactly. And I had really fun memories. I met most of the cast in those conventions that are no longer with us. So you can tell that I've been a fan. Mainly sci-fi, right? So if you hear me talk, you think, oh, I'm a Trekkie, but I am a Trekkie among other things. I really enjoy sci-fi as a whole, and Star Trek is one of those things that are they're near and dear to my heart. So it's safe to say that I know what Section 31 is based on all the stuff that I experienced on my experiencing the whole IP as a whole. I don't know if you remember, we just finished, not just finished, we finished this, maybe was it last year, a complete rewatch of the Star Trek because my wife was a fan of Lower Decks. And if you are familiar with the show, they're about 24 minutes long each episode. Those episodes will turn out to be an hour and a half because I would have to pause and find videos on YouTube to actually bring up references that my wife can understand. She kind of got a little frustrated, not because I was doing that, but because she had to do that because she wants to just understand. And she asked me, and that's where the idea came to do a complete rewatch of Star Trek. And now she can watch anything related to Star Trek, and she understands. I don't have to go and find. As a matter of fact, the interesting thing is sometimes he brings points that I never consider, which is again back to what we were saying about perspectives and how I enjoy perspectives. There's always something you have not considered when you look at it from the point of view of someone else.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Well, that leads you to believe that, that leads you to understand that when I say I understand Section 31, I do. And I had expectations like everybody else on the Star Trek community, where we get to see Section 31 from Starfleet's perspective. And again, we're touching that subject, and again, perspective, right? Um, and I always wished, and this is not new, right? Because I always wondered about lower decks and Star Trek throughout the history of Star Trek, throughout all the movies, throughout all the TV shows. You get to see Starfleet from the point of view, from their perspective, or leadership, right? The people at the top. But you never get to see what the little guy does, right? And you get to see the little guys once in a while in a show, in a movie, and you wonder. And I always wondered. I wanted to see Starfleet from the point of view, from their perspective of lower decks, and I was so freaking excited when we got that in the form of an animation called Lower Decks. And I finally got my dream of seeing what Lower Decks was like from their perspective, what Starfleet was like from the perspective of the Lower Decks. So the reason why I'm bringing that comparison is because I have the same thing about Section 31. We always get to see Section 31 from the perspective of Starfleet. They are a covered organization that is part of Starfleet, but not sanctioned by them. They don't answer to Starfleet. Starfleet doesn't answer to them. Almost feel like they're a rogue organization, but their prime mission is to make sure their Starfleet stays afloat. Starfleet is the main organization in the galaxy, right? That nothing would put that in jeopardy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I always wondered what would be like to have the a view of Starfleet from the perspective or Section 31. So when they announced the movie Star Trek Section 31, me and my wife got really excited because that's what we thought we were going to get.
Robert, just before you continue, before you get too far away from the point you made that I wanted to comment on, do you know when Section 31 was first introduced into a Star Trek show? And do you know which show it was?
Well, I have had an argument because I have an opinion, and maybe that opinion is not widely accepted. It is on TOS. I can't remember the episode, but this is the episode where Agent 7 was introduced with a cat. I strongly believe that he is Section 31.
But it wasn't called that.
Exactly. It was not called
the concept of Section 31 as a title for a rogue organization under the auspices of Starfleet was first mentioned on screen in Star Trek Deep Space Nine episode Inquisition, which aired in 1996. So it's been 29 years that Trekkies have been waiting for a Section 31 show, something that shows us what goes on with Section 31. So that's 3 decades.
Yeah.
So it's overdue, I feel.
Well, I still want an Agent 7 spinoff. I think that could be really, really cool. And Gio, if you're not familiar with that, is Agent 7 for me is reminiscent of James Bond, and this was in the 60s.
Yeah,
but Star
he
Trek
had that vibe.
with a little cat. I don't know. So
Yep.
yeah, I agree with you, Ray. I agree with you, and I would understand why some fans will feel upset because we still want that. We still are waiting for that. However,
Oh, Gary 7. See, I didn't recognize Agent 7, but I know of Gary 7.
yeah. what was the name of that episode, by the way?
Assignment Earth.
Yeah, that was a great episode. And since I saw that for the first time, it's like long, long, long ago. Obviously, I did not watch. Just to clarify for the audience, I did not watch this when it aired. I wasn't born yet. So I watched it on reruns. Um,
Oh, come on! I thought you could travel in time.
I'm still today wanting a spin-off or a reboot or whatever it is of a movie. I mean, if you can't spend much, just give me a movie of Gary Seven. I kind of like, if you follow the Twitter, the X account, years back, I actually created a poster called Star Trek Gary Seven on it. Yeah, I still want
I'm
at
gonna
least.
make one. I'm gonna make one that says Star Trek: Return of the Jedi.
uh, there you go. So ignoring that, uh, I'm um, saying that, right, and I'm going on a long rant here. Me and my wife watched this movie, and we did not hate it for the things that we were expecting we were going to get. And I don't know if that makes any sense, but I and me and my wife really enjoyed this film. Granted, we felt, and we'll get into this argument in just a few minutes here, when you guys give your thoughts on it. We felt that we were not necessarily getting a Star Trek film. We were getting a sci-fi film after we watched it. Um, for obvious reasons. I mean, if you go online, you'll hear this until you're blue in the face. The only mention of Starfleet in this film was, Rachel Garrett, which I was excited to see. By the way, that's another character that I want to see a spinoff of. But we really enjoyed this film. It's not what I wanted or what I expected, but regardless, I really enjoyed this film, and I actually rewatched it since a couple of times. So that I guess that would be my long first impression. And as a recap, it's not what I expected, but I really enjoyed it.
I can go
So,
next.
y-
I'm newbie in this one.
well, both of you watched it today, right?
Yes.
Okay, so go ahead.
I loved it. I loved it. When Robert gave me the premise for it, I kind of disliked the character, and then when I watched the movie, I totally understood her. So I don't think that the Emperor, uh, Georgina, is
Georgia.
her name, Georgia. I don't think that she's a monster. I think that she's actually a badass anti-hero kind of person. Uh, and I mean, it's your fault, guys, that I take things word at word level, however it comes. So I loved it. For whoever that's gonna come and tell me that this is not Star Trek, it's Section 31. It's a special division. It wouldn't be much of a secret division if you knew about it and you knew how it's all about, right? And it's being done by the same studio. And when you look at it, it's kind of canon. I mean, she's supposed to be like this because she's the goody goody go doer on the other mirror universe, right?
Are we talking about Georgia?
Yeah.
She is no goody goody, but oh well.
You told me that in the mirror universe, she actually was a commander and a good person. She died heroically. All the stuff. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Yeah,
Georgia?
Captain Georgiou. She's talking about
Yeah,
Captain Georgiou from our universe.
yeah.
Yes, that's not her.
No, this one is the other one, the cool
Okay.
star.
Okay. The cool one.
I can you cannot hate it. I think that this movie brings you closer to that reality that we are a product of our surroundings. You know, what it's like, what do you expect her to do to break the cycle just that easy? She did at the end of the movie, if you think about it. She did break the cycle, but it took something abnormal and she not living in that reality for that to happen. So which reinforced that we are a product of our surroundings because she moved out of that reality and it changed at the end of the movie. You see character progression in this movie too,
I
in a
think
redemptive way.
I think she couldn't get to that point if it wasn't for Michael Berman.
True. But I think that it was a redemptive journey for Giorgio.
Mhm.
And even though she was playing it off like it wasn't. Kind of like the anti-hero. It reminds me of Ari Fuera, main character. He doesn't want to be. He just want to be a cool guy and pretend like he doesn't care, but he does. She does.
Before we move on to Ray's first impression, I want to ask this. I don't know if you guys agree. I mean, we seen our Captain Chaos mention her as an anti-hero. I see her as a villain. How do you see her, Ray?
It's really easy to pigeonhole characters based on a limited amount of screen time
Yep.
and say, oh, definitely a bad guy because you've never seen any redemptive qualities. But when you have characters that have occurred in a number of different outings of an IP, like Discovery and then this show here, she hasn't been written as a two-dimensional bad guy, which is what I like.
Yes.
It's a much deeper character. She has regrets. She knows that she's fucked up numerous times. She knows that she's been terrible. And in some ways she regrets it, but in other ways she knows that it was necessary.
Yeah.
Like it's shown in the very first scene where she murders her family in cold blood, but then cries over their corpses.
Yep.
But then, like unknowingly, she saved her village practically.
Yeah, in a way, you're kind of right, but you kind of wonder, right? Because their village. I mean, she killed her family. The village is alive because she killed her family.
I don't think that she killed her family knowing that her village was gonna die if she didn't do it. I don't think so. It was more of like a plus bonus surprise.
The question is, knowing what the Terran Empire does, what was better? Was it better to just kill the?
Well, you saw the result. You saw the counterproductive result right there with her boyfriend.
No, I'm talking about the village. It makes you wonder if they're better off dead, knowing that the Terran Empire and what they're going to do with them.
Well, when you look at it from like a high point and looking at peasants or people as peasants, you will say that it's survival instinct. So it's better for them because they're not all burning like the other guy's village because he didn't do his assignment.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, those people are burning, and if they knew why, they would be like, he could have saved us. He just needed to kill his family. And very few people are gonna be enough disconnected of their survival instinct to say, "Wow, he had to do that to to save us all." Nobody's gonna do that. Everybody's gonna be like, "Damn, he just could have done that and saved the whole village."
No.
You know.
So, going back to you, Ray. What is your just like Gio? You watched this today, basically. What is your first impression of the thing? And you have watched more Star Trek than Gio, so you have a little bit more context for it.
Yeah, I've sort of drifted away from Star Trek in the last 5 or so years. I've watched all the stuff before 2000 multiple times. So I'd have to say Star Trek is a lot more brutal than it used to be in a lot of ways. And this is a reflection of that in that all the sort of goody two-shoes stuff that went on for many decades. I mean, you'd have like Khan and various other bad guys who were doing horrible things, but the Starfleet was always the upfront, high ground, we're doing the right thing for the galaxy kind of goody two shoes organization that wandered around almost being better than thou to pretty much every other race they came across. And knowing that Star Trek is a reflection of the current situation of the day within the USA. It's interesting that Star Trek has got a lot darker in recent years, going on what's been happening in the US recently. So again, I talk about the mirror universe, but Star Trek is as a show is a mirror in and of itself. In that, in the 60s and 70s, Americans saw themselves as the righteous nation that went out into the world and solved problems and fixed things for people. And then they started to discover that all that meddling didn't really do what they set out to do, and that there was a lot of shit going on at home that they were trying to ignore to go out and fix other problems because they thought that made them feel better about themselves. And these shows that are getting darker and darker in the Star Trek universe is a reflection of what's happening in the world. In that, the scab's been pulled off, and nations are now seeing themselves more of what they truly are, and the sort of shit that they've been getting up to behind the scenes is no longer hidden away under a veneer of goody-goody. And, we're seeing more of what is really happening in the world and what things really are. And of course, what's shown in the media is directed by people who are trying to control the narrative. So it's not 100% accurate as it is right now. It's very hard to get 100% accurate and unbiased information anymore, because everything has a spin on it. But how that relates to this show is that there was a lot of people who, after 30 years, were very interested in seeing how Section 31 was going to be portrayed, and then they almost felt betrayed that it wasn't Star Trek-y enough. It was in the Star Trek universe, but it really had nothing to do with Starfleet, and that's the point. I mean, the whole point is this is the people who do the things that Starfleet won't touch because they're too goody-goody. Their moral high ground won't allow them to bend down that low and get in the muck. But there are people out there who will, because that's what they've dealt with all their lives. And ex-Emperor Georgiou is the epitome of that. She has done shit that would turn you white. And
it will turn you to a white.
Yeah. And she's not afraid to step into that whenever necessary. And really, she knows that she's a reprehensible excuse for a human being. And she's come to terms with that.
I just want to give Gio another perspective of Georgiou. Let me just say she's a cannibal. She's a cannibal. Let me leave it at that.
She eats a person's body?
Yes.
Okay, she's cool.
And you know which episode I'm talking about, right, Ray?
I vaguely remember it, yes.
Discovery. When they, So, I just wanted to, because I know Gio doesn't know this, but yeah.
Well, let everybody know that if we are in a survival scenario and you guys die, your body won't go to waste.
She's the emperor of an empire which covers the Alpha Quadrant. She doesn't need to eat people, but it was a done thing, so she did it.
It's dominance. It's psychological warfare.
Yeah, it is.
It's one-on-one.
I want to try and stick to more the character as she's portrayed in this series rather than what happened previously. I mean, it does have relevance, but I don't want to labor it.
Hey,
so
we can use the so classic. What's on the past is not the past.
Yeah. So what I'd like to do quickly, because I don't want to talk for 30 minutes like Robert did, is
Ouch!
is jab jab is just go through a quick list of pros and cons for this show. Now, obviously, a con for most
Robert, you want
Trekkies.
some? You want some, Robert?
Dear.
Go ahead.
Birthing lube's much better than Vaseline. I'll just let you know. The whole point of the character is that she's very deep, and she's got a lot to her, and she's got regrets, and she does have a kind side, but she tends to keep it buried because she knows what she's been through and what she's had to do, and that's shaped the way she interacts with her
Being kind
environment.
doesn't help her.
No. She'll show snippets of kindness, but it's very much buried in the mire of the horrendous things she's had to do to survive.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
she's a product of her environment. I'll definitely agree with that. But she's not a 2D villain. She's definitely not a 2D villain.
I agree.
She's got way more nuance. And the reason I watched this show immediately on being asked to was because the character of Georgiou was in it. That was my draw, because I'd always appreciated her character. I thought she was a great antagonist, and she's an anti-hero of a way.
Look, aura building, she's got it. She built aura. Like the scene when the 5 agents go to see her from Section 31, and she shows them that she's onto them like long time ago. Like that was aura building, like badass. Like this bitch is bad, bro. You cannot outsmart her.
Yeah.
Robert and I were like, whoa, dude, what the hell?
I liked Quasi's reaction to her. He felt like a deer being stared down by a predator.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And considering what Quasi could do, that's saying something.
Yes.
But
aura.
Not only did I love Georgiou's character, I've loved her in previous things and I love her in this one, but Michelle Yeoh just does such a brilliant job. She's really into the headspace of this character now, and she just pulls it off, which is brilliant. She carried this show basically because we didn't know the other characters. They had to be built up within this story, but she's a continuing character, so she was the anchor. And she carried the show. She was the focal point around which everything else orbited, and she did a fantastic job.
Yeah, you don't get too much background of the other characters. You get more their quirks about their personalities only.
Yeah. If you wanted to compare this to other movies, it was kind of like Ocean's 11. In that sort of ensemble cast, everybody's got their own quirks, and they're all bouncing off each other and having little arguments and not getting along, and there's a traitor in their midst and all that sort of thing. It's very Ocean's 11-y.
Cowboy Bebop, Black Lagoon is the building of a crew for the like brand new. If you think about it, that's the feeling that it gives you at the end of the movie. It's like they're a crew.
Yeah.
So they're getting together like it's the beginning of a new adventure.
So what I felt like was this telly movie was a pilot, basically, and they were going to see how well it landed. It didn't land so well with most of the Trek aficionados, but they were going to see how well it landed, and then if it went well, they were going to start a series. I think that's probably up in the air at the moment, based on the reviews and things like that. But personally, I'd like to see it because it's new and it's different. It's not your vanilla, boring, everybody standing in rows with their, how did you describe it, Gio? Their properly sanctioned colored uniforms for the OCD crowd.
Yeah. and they finally took out the campiness. I'm sorry, guys, but Star Trek can work without campiness. They are going more the HBO way. Serious tone. They're trying. I think that Star Trek with this movie opening the possibility for a show is throwing out there, hey, we can match up the energy of the Apple TV school shows that are coming sci-fi and the Netflix ones and the HBO ones. That's what they're showing with this show, with this movie, I think. And I think that it opens a whole new possibility. And like I said before, comparing it with Shield, Agents Shield, it's like it gives you a new flavor. It connects to that reality, but just like in Shield, you don't get to see much of the Captain America and this and that, like all the Avengers together all at once. Always, it's the same here. They might be able to touch on other like members of Starfleet sporadically over the show with its own thing.
So yeah, I think it was pitched as a pilot for a possible new show, which I'd like to see. Although I don't know that we will, given the response to it. Now, I like the ensemble cast. I like that they are all very different. They all had their unusual quirks, and they had trouble working together. And obviously, there was also a traitor, so that doesn't help very much. But I thought that the ensemble cast worked quite well. Some of the interactions were a little bit forced and a little bit stilted. And some of the line deliveries didn't really work all that well. So I thought that maybe they weren't quite warmed up to each other and to the script as it could have been. So I thought it didn't quite land in some scenes with that. But overall, I was more on the positive side than the negative side, mainly because of Georgiou, because I think she's just such a fantastic character, and I want to see more of what she gets up to. I thought the writing was ho-hum. The scenes, the locations, should I say, they could have done a little bit more with it. I mean, if you compared this to any of the now it's the other timeline. I'm trying to remember what it's called. The Kelvin timeline movies. The Kelvin timeline movies had an energy and a spark that I really enjoyed. Sure, it wasn't your daddy's Star Trek, but it was still Star Trek, and it was really energetic. And I felt that energy was a little bit missing in this one. The everything was a bit grayer and a bit muddier.
This is Chris Nolan. This is Chris Nolan Star Trek.
Yeah, basically. But it did seem to be a little bit lacking in the script and the scenes, the locations. They could have done a little bit more there to make it a little bit more interesting. But for what it was, it worked. It worked as an off-brand, offshoot, things that don't normally happen on screen in Star Trek, much like Lower Decks, but even further away from the Star Trek ideal. It was showing the dirty underbelly of space. It was outside the Federation. It was what was going on when it's lawless and people, and the only law is the law of strength.
Section 31.
Yeah, exactly. Now, you know, lots of Trekkies might be jumping up and down saying, this isn't approved. Gene Roddenberry wouldn't like it. Rah, 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 rah. Well, Eugene Roddenberry, his son, who is the CEO of Roddenberry Productions, is a producer. So it was greenlit by the Roddenberry Foundation. So, sorry, you're wrong. And I'm probably going to get some flack for that. Maybe my first 0-star review from
Bring it on.
Fellow Trekkies. Now, don't think that I'm not a Trekkie. I have possibly watched more Trekkie than a lot of. I've possibly watched more Trek than a lot of Trekkies because I've been around for nearly. I was born in '69. Trek was the first.
What year? Repeat that year. The very year. What year?
Yeah, so I've been around almost as long as Trek has, and basically I've watched all of it. Even the animated series. So, all of it up till about the last 5 years, where I sort of lost interest a bit. But I might have to catch back up now because I've watched this and it's drawn me back in. So, I think there is a section of the Trek community that will really get into this, just because it's different. Because we've had so many shows that have followed the same vanilla format. And I applaud them for trying something different. It may not have landed entirely well. Maybe like 2 out of the 3 touchdown pads hit the ground, but not the third one. It probably could have used a little bit more budget and a little bit more time. I think maybe might have been a little bit rushed in the editing, or they could have done some reshoots to improve a few of the scenes. But all in all, I think it worked. I think it did what it set out to do.
Yep, I agree with that. I concur.
Nice. No, I do agree. I do agree with that. I want to talk about some of the things that we get to see in this film, right? Only because I'm slightly excited as a Trekkie to see Trek being referred to. So the first thing that I want to name that I'm really excited, part of the crew
Get excited.
of the just Section 31 crew that we see in this film. The only Starfleet officer that we see is Garrett, right? And I don't know if you guys, I'm sure Gio might not be familiar. I did send them some articles and a video over our Discord so he can get familiar with the character and why I am so excited about. But if you follow the Enterprise history, right, from the experimental Enterprise, the NX-01, we see Captain Archer, right? Then we move on to the Enterprise, the NC-1701. That was first captain is Robert April. Then we have Christopher Pike as the second captain. And after the accident, we have James T. Kirk. Then we see that ship destroyed and get into, they rebuild it as NCC 1701A. And that's also Kirk's Enterprise. We have, I believe, NCC 1701B. That is John Harrigan, and it's called. Of course, this is on. I don't think this has come. I'm trying to think. It hasn't come up. And please, if you're listening to this episode, if it has come up in an episode that I missed, please mention it. Go into go into the comment section, or reach out to us and let us know. And then we move on to Enterprise 1701C. And this is where I get excited because the only captain, and I'm sure I had other captains, but the captain that I really, that comes to mind is a female captain called Rachel Garrett. And that's the reason why I'm so excited, because I get to see Rachel before she became a captain. Now, if you want to see what I remember Rachel looking like, you might want to go into The Next Generation. There's an episode called Yesterday's Enterprise. It was
my favorite episode of Next Gen.
1990. That's when we get to see the Enterprise D going in through this, not going, but there's an aperture in space, and you see the Enterprise C come through and meet Enterprise, the Enterprise D, which we all know, the NCC 1701 is Captain Picard's. And if you are watching on YouTube, you are seeing a still of this first meet. Well, after obviously the because she ended up being on the medical bay because she had some. But this was the first, not the first meet, but I want to say the first official meet between Captain Picard and Captain Rachel Garrett. Now, I was excited because I knew of Captain Rachel Garrett prior to this episode. And I always wanted like something. I wanted to see something. So I got excited when they came up with this in 1990, and now exciting again because they brought it up in Section 31, this movie. I do, and I might be one of the few Trekkies out there. I don't know that this feeling is shared. And please correct me if I'm wrong, Ray, if you feel the same way as I do. But I do want to see something like a movie or maybe a short mini series that tells the story about the NCC 1701C under Captain Rachel Garrett, because I feel that's one of those missing holes within the history of Enterprise that
Yeah.
that we are missing.
I mean, it seems like most of the captains of the various enterprises had a busy time. Being that it was the flagship, it would end up in most of the sticky situations, which is why it was great fodder for Star Trek series. And they only started diverging from that when they went to Deep Space Nine and Voyager, which told stories away from the Enterprise. Because, I mean, you can only recycle the same concept so many times that people start to get a bit bored. So they mixed it up a bit. And again, that's why Section 31 is important, because they've mixed it up yet again. They've gone away from the whole goody two-shoes Starfleet, and they're looking at the underbelly of the Star Trek universe, which is another thing that's now being explored and people are getting up in arms about, because it's not my daddy's Starfleet. So
yeah. Gio, did you know about this before you saw her on Section 31? Before
really.
you were captain?
No, not really.
And knowing this, does it change your opinion of that character now that in retrospect?
No, I think on a mission to like her and understand her.
But you understand that more now, because
Yeah.
remember when you said that at the end? I mean, she's trying to express herself on Section 31, where she can't, something that she cannot do in Starfleet. But now you know that her future is actually the captain of the Enterprise.
Yep. But I told you, like I have admiration for her.
Yeah,
I knew that I'd heard the name before, but I couldn't place it. So thank you for sorting that one out for me.
Oh, you didn't know this prior to watching?
I didn't know this prior to the show, like the show that we're recording right now.
Ah, no,
So you just connected the dots for me.
I was so freaking excited. You have no idea when I saw the character, because I always, and that's the reason why I was asking you, because I feel that I'm, if not the only one Trekkie in the world that wants a Rachel Garrett, spin-off or series or
I'd watch it.
I feel alone in that, because I think we're missing out on the Enterprise C. That's one of the few Enterprises aside from B. We don't see B also like a series or a movie. But I think C has a lot more. Well, compared to, I want to see them both, to be honest with you, but I want to see C first with Rachel Garrett.
B had that sort of clunky. Now, what was the Great Experiment? It was in the. It was the ship that had that new experimental drive, and Scotty tampered with it so that they couldn't pursue them when they were going back to the Regulus planet.
Oh my God, I'm drawing a blank.
Excelsior. The Excelsior.
Ah, yeah.
The Great Experiment.
Yes.
So I remember the Enterprise B had a similar hull design to the Excelsior, and it was a bit sort of clunky looking. So I'm not too fussed about that one, but certainly the Enterprise C looked pretty groovy. So I'd be totally up for at least a movie, if not a mini-series about the Enterprise C.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely want. And if you're listening to the show and you're a Trekkie just like me, and you want a show about Enterprise C, please reach out. Only because I don't want to feel alone in this world. Every time I talk about it, it's like, C, what are you talking about? I want to see Rachel Garrett. I also want to see Robert April. We only got to see him briefly in Strange New Worlds. So there you go. That's my laundry list.
Wonderless.
Now, we had a watch party, and I'm going to mention this again. If you are not in our Discord, you missed it. And we were watching the episode of, I always forget the name of the episode, Rhapsody from Strange New Worlds. If you guys can look it up and let me know. But we watched this in Section 31 on our Discord. And we had a conversation, me and Gio, right? About how Star Trek has always shown issues with society, and how I twitch when I hear comments online that says that Star Trek was never, um, uh, it never show. How can I put this? I don't want to say the keyword. There's a keyword being used now that is so
You want me
overused.
to say it? You don't want nobody to say it.
No, you could say it. I was
I
gonna
can say
say
I
it.
can take the burden. I can take the burden. Woke.
Yeah. So
That's
because they never really dealt with, it's
not true. Look at the Star Trek episode when they get Abraham Lincoln. How they touch very much an issue at the moment when that episode was done. And that's a very old episode, and they do it all across every episode. The Measure of a Man, a perfect example, and we covered that one of our first episodes in season one. It's a great example of how philosophical it goes, and philosophy is all about us living a better society.
well, the reason why I was bringing, and thank you for that, Gio. I do agree with that statement. The reason why I'm bringing this up is if you notice, Giorgio's assistant, Virgil, he doesn't come out, for maybe a few minutes, and I think he come out a couple of times throughout the movie. He's the assistant to Giorgio. Um, he is from the planet Charon.
Yeah.
And if you remember back in I think it was 1969, the original Star Trek episode called Let That Be Your Last Battlefield. This is the episode that me and Gio were talking about. And
Ooh.
I'm kind of glad that this came up because we were talking about it and you had
And,
no idea.
and I'm gonna still say it. I got it right from the beginning.
So this is the episode, Gio, that I was telling you, where the Enterprise under Kirk, they got this alien came on board, and it was asking, and
It was a Klingon and he wanted peace.
no,
It's not that episode.
that's not that episode.
Okay.
So he wanted, um, he wanted the I guess the Federation to help because he was being persecuted, and these people had half their face was black on the right and white on the left. Now the other side of the people, the persecutors, if I'm not mistaken here, they had black on the left and white on the right.
They were zebras and they just have the opposite colors.
They're not zebras. They're just like
I'm
half.
simplifying it.
Yeah. So, and I don't know. Do we have an image that we can show?
What was the name of that episode?
Virgil. No, you can just look up Section 31 Virgil. And you could probably see a screenshot of that. So why I'm bringing this up, I found it interesting that we had that conversation prior to watching the movie, because we were watching Strange New Worlds and we were talking about how Star Trek has always shown societal issues throughout time, and people seem to ignore it because of I honestly, I don't know why, but interesting that we were talking exactly about that, and now we have Virgil, the assistant, being from that race, from that same episode that we were discussing. You see that this is him. So it's, and I'm gonna have to maybe do a watch party so you can watch that episode, Gio, and see how deep that episode goes. So why am I bringing all this up is because, again, we're talking about things that were brought up into this from the Star Trek universe, and this is another thing that I was excited to see, where you get to see this race again back from, and this was from the original, the original series, Star Trek, the original series. What was your guys' thought when you saw Virgil, or did that go over your head and you didn't realize it?
I'm
I,
not a
I
I'm not a Trekkie, so I didn't really recognize him from anywhere else. But I find it fascinating, the looks of it.
Well, and that's why I wanted to ask you, Gio, because we had this conversation prior to watching the movie, and you still didn't like add up. Like you saw this guy, and I understand this guy came up. Ray, you agreed like a minute or so, a couple of times throughout the movie.
yeah,
Yeah.
he was just a bit parter, but yeah, this moment I saw him, I went, hang on, he's one of the racers from the original series, but I couldn't remember the details, so I didn't have any more depth to go on than seen one of them before.
Yeah, so I was kind of waiting for Gio to pick up on that, and he didn't. But I understand why. It was very brief, so that's one. And I'm gonna see if I can get Gio on a watch party for that. Only, and I know it's campy, but the reason why I wanted to show you is so you can see how deep the story goes in that episode. You remember that episode, Ray, right?
Vaguely.
Okay. Yeah, it's
I
been
just
There's a
thought
lot
of
of Star.
something.
There's a lot
I
of
just
Star
thought
Trek.
of. I just thought of something very, very bad to say about Star Trek that Ray would have loved to hear me saying,
Sure.
but I won't say it.
Okay. That means I am good in being afraid of the comment.
Yeah, we would have had to start playing Moving On, and then
I'll say it after the show finishes. And if you really want to hear me saying this kind of stuff, you better just start getting on our Patreon. So we start showing you our cancelable content without risks.
Or you could join our Discord and give him hell there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that too. That too.
Yeah, I think Discord gives you direct contact because you can have, direct conversation or argument depending on.
Or you could call our hotline and give him his first 1-star review, which he's been waiting for.
Please.
Yes, definitely.
That's
That'll be a bigger victory.
624.
That would be a bigger victory than if we have our golden placket from YouTube. Our first.
Yeah, you aren't legit until you've had a 1-star review, apparently.
Yep, that's true.
So another thing that I want to bring up that I found in the same avenue as Virgil, the assistant. Any of you, or have you seen that? Have you got a chance to see Star Trek 60 Undiscovered Country, 1991?
I have seen it.
Okay.
I
Gio,
vaguely remember it.
you haven't seen it, right?
You know it.
Okay. So, Quasi.
If you're tricky, if you know it, clap your hands.
You know Quasi, right?
Yeah, for Notre Dame,
The
Quasimodo.
Cameloid, yes.
The Cameloid.
Quasimodo from the Notre Dame, right? Hunchback.
No. Let's go back in section 31. Remember the guy that was afraid of Georgiou?
Yeah.
Quasi is a Cameloid. I'm trying to think, and help me, Ray, if you think otherwise. But I haven't seen a Cameloid since the Undiscovered Country.
I don't think so.
But that's the thing. I think even from the outside look, I perceive of Star Trek is that there is so much in the universe of Star Trek that you don't have time to really go deep into some races and their intricacies. You know?
Well, you would if
if you buy the books and stuff. Yeah, sure. Like, of course, that's a book that every Trekkie has in the house.
But I think a book that will help you in this situation. Let me see if I can show you here. And for all of you out there, I'm actually pulling books from my bookcase. And
what is that, Ray?
That is the Cameloid from Undiscovered Country.
Is that Marcia?
Yeah.
Let's see.
But since they actually just are like Mystique from X-Men, it looks like a person. That's
See, this would help you, Gio.
the Star Trek World of the Federation. Yeah.
So you can look up.
Gladly you have it, so I'll probably just use it when I see you there.
So you can look up any race in here, and it tells you where they're from. Let me just give you a sample for all of you out there. So if you're a Trekkie and you don't have this book, I'll probably recommend it. And here they're talking about the Phylus.
That's for those of you that are listening on the Spotify. He's showing us an alien that has 1, 2, 3, 5 dicks hanging off their
Oh my
chest.
Let me pick something more.
Right, Ray?
Look, there you go. There's something for you, Gio. This is something.
Tentacles.
Oh, there's a guy doing the step to the left, pam, step to the right, pam, crisscross.
And that's a Vulcan. It gives you the planet, where the planet is located, and it gives you everything about that race.
All right, nice.
Yeah. So yeah, I I do enjoy that race. The Cameloids. She was a really, what was, I think. Oh my God, I'm running a blank here.
Who's that? Halle Berry?
No. She's a Star Trek.
Halle Berry would do a great live action version of her.
Yeah, I think
A fantastic live action version. Because Halle Berry looks beautiful with that short hair too, and like the curly on the top. Halle Berry will look beautiful.
that is Iman. I don't know if you know who Iman is, but she's a very famous. She's very, very well. I don't know, not anymore though. Well, she seems to be like in the 90s.
Marcia, it says in there. Right, Ray?
Yep, Martia.
Martia.
Martia. So yeah, if you haven't seen Iman,
for you to see an imam, you got to go to a mosque, and then you can ask for an imam. He's like one of those preaching guys on the mosque.
in the 90s, she was a very famous model, actress, and entrepreneur, and she seems to be everywhere in the 90s.
Oh, nice.
She's 69 now, but she was
what? She's what?
She's 69 now, but she was gorgeous in that movie, and I remember that. My first impression. I actually got to see that in the theaters.
Okay, nice.
Okay, so before I go into this rabbit hole, because I seem to be going inside a rabbit hole within this movie,
everything is spiraling in.
Yeah, I'm that shows you, right? You see me talking about this movie, and that shows you how much I enjoy this film, right? And in part, it's one of the reasons why I'm confused as to why the low ratings and basically the hate for this movie. I mean, if you watch
gatekeeping,
not necessarily. I think it's basically all what we talked about is the expectation versus what it was, right? Like I'm gonna. I don't know if you guys want me to read like one or two comments.
Yeah.
Just before you do, while we're on the subject of comparisons between old and new Trek outings for various species, I will share this one.
Oh yes.
So the moment I saw Mille the Delton in section 31, I went Star Trek the Motion Picture.
Yes.
Because admittedly, the character wasn't a Delton for very long. She ended up becoming an android appendage of Vija.
Mm-hmm.
But I found the characters both of those characters very interesting for their racial trait of basically being able to what's the word I'm looking for?
Mm, not
Not so much sexually aroused, but just
seduce.
seduce. That's the word. Thank you very much. Yeah, she's able to seduce the males and probably some of the females of many species in the Federation.
Mhm.
I can think of a great suggestion for a week for her.
Right?
No idea. I'm lost.
What the hell is that?
A week for her. That's a great week for her.
Okay, so is this the
It's
part we said moving on?
it's like handlebars for a bull chick.
Oh my god. Um, so moving on. I was really sad when she died, and the way she died was horrible. And this
You
is
were glad when she died.
no.
Oh, what a bloodshed guy!
And I was trying to explain it to Gio, but it's kind of hard to explain when he doesn't know. So that, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ray, but do you feel that was a Romulan disruptor?
Yeah, I think you might be onto it, or it could have been a Imperial Terran disruptor because they were pretty horrible too.
Yeah. So basically, what it is, if you're not familiar with it, the Rom and just to put it in perspective, within the outside the Terran Empire, right? The normal timeline of us, the Romulan disruptor was banned by the Federation because it kills the person by destroying their molecular structure, but in the way that it does, as
It's
you
an illegal gun.
as you die, you feel pain, excruciating pain all the way to your death until you disappeared. And that's the reason why they were banned by the Federation. Now, notice what I said. They were banned by the Federation.
I like her even more.
They're
Giorgio is a
Romulan,
badass.
they're Romulan disruptors. So Romulans use it in war.
Yep.
But in the Terran universe, the Terran Empire subsumed Romulus
Mhm.
and found those weapons and went, "Hey, we like this. This is cool," and started using them.
So I was really upset to see Mel die in that way, that horrible way, and so sudden.
It makes me like Giorgio even more.
But she didn't kill him. It was a,
Well, but basically her people have that, so like it makes her a badass.
oh yeah, she yeah.
Because I mean, what's like this is why Giorgio is a good guy. Is a good girl, a good character. Is she literally the mission was to work against her own empire to prevent a war.
Mm,
They closed the gate to prevent the Terrans from coming and destroy everything because that's what they learned from the emperor.
yeah.
So she basically shut down her own empire that was trying to plot against her or without her consent going out for war. That's what they realized when they got the guy with all the cybernetics on the face that got blown up. Right?
Yeah, well, yeah, you're right in some aspects there, because the thing is, and it was explained in the film, that the
I
Terran Empire, it was always taking new planets, taking all the resources, drying it up, and
it was a
if you
destructive developmental tactic.
yeah, and if you think about it, it's not sustainable.
No, it's not. It's like whatever they pass by is death left behind.
So they got to a point where their entire galaxy, they basically well, based on what I heard from this film and how.
Let me put into perspective and plug in another episode that we did that talks a lot about this kind of behavior for civilization. Ender's Game. That's how humans behave towards the ant people in Ender's Game. Annihilation,
Mhm,
not taking chances.
yeah, so
The same thing.
they they went through what I assume is their entire galaxy, and
Or the quadrant.
they ran out of resources.
Hmm.
So what they have to do, they have to go to another universe to start all over because they don't have the resources and they're suffering from it.
Yep.
What is your thought on that, Ray?
Well, my first thought was, what is that a reflection of? The Roman bloody empire.
Mm-hmm.
They basically did the same thing. If they weren't invading new territories and bringing back spoils and slaves, their whole system fell apart.
Mm-hmm.
And it's basically that monolithic, corrupt, destructive empire building where you've got to keep consuming. And we have a version of that in the modern world, which is the expectation that that economies will always be growing. There'll be always more people to consume more things, and the economy will always be growing. It's not factual. It's not in real life. Just look at Japan. Their economy is shrinking. They went from 150 million people 30 years ago to 120 million now. That's quite the reduction.
Yeah.
So the whole economic plotting of the economy is always growing is not sustainable. And it's the same thing with a destructive empire like that that's got to keep absorbing new planets and strip mining them to stay afloat.
If you want to put it on a better comparison point, you remember Halo?
Mm.
You remember the Flood? How they behave? They consume and infect everything on their path, and nothing survives it. That's how the Terrans behave. It's like they go feeding on by waves, but it's like they cannot sustain or stay in a place. They gotta keep on moving and looking for more. It's like a monster it's like a snowball coming down a hill. It's like it's just gonna get bigger if you go with that solution.
It's like the Tyranids in 40K. Just eat everything.
And basically, as you go advancing and growing, it's gonna be worse when you run out of fuel or resources because you're gonna have more people suffering all at once.
Mm.
It's running full steam up against the wall. It's not good.
Yeah.
And it sucks because we had great things like agriculture. You know?
The concept of the only direction is more.
Yeah. Yeah.
More armies, more planets taken over, more resources consumed, more.
Yep. The problem, I think, and I see this reflected, many people do commit this error, that the tricks to success when you are growing and making a new plan for your life is not to grow your expenses as you grow. You know, you try to kind of maintain the same level of resource expenses, so the surplus becomes an advantage. But many people, and as society, we do that too in mass. The more we make, the more we try to expand and grow. When you say, "Oh, we got more money, let's put more stuff out there." Same thing, people. Oh, I got a little more extra money. Let me, instead of saving, let me spend it on this that I want. And as a society, we do that. And when you do that, you're not banking on anything to prepare for a crisis.
Definitely. Can I throw an Easter egg in just to lighten the mood a little?
Yeah. Right.
Control.
Oh,
did you recognize Control?
Nice. I love it. When I saw that for the first time, it's like, oh my god. And what's up with those? She seemed half Borg.
Cybernetics, certainly. Jamie Lee Curtis plays Control in the last few moments of the show. And apparently Jamie Lee Curtis and Michelle Yeoh are good friends.
Nice.
So I'd say Michelle got Jamie Lee Curtis in for that cameo.
That was really awesome.
Of course, they both starred in a movie we have covered. Do you remember which one it was?
Oh, yes. The very
Everything, Everywhere, All at Once.
All at once. Yes.
Very confusing title.
Absolutely manic movie. I loved it.
Oh, yes. If you guys haven't listened to that episode, go down to our back catalog and download it. We had a lot of fun. That movie was a lot of fun.
It was early on in season 2, as I remember.
Yeah.
Michelle Yeoh is also a great actress from non-sci-fis that I love very much, like Marco Polo, which I love that show. She did 100 Eyes. She did the Crouching Tiger. She's one of the main
Yes,
characters on that
love
iconic
Crouching
movie.
Tiger.
Crouching
Yeah,
Tiger is an amazing movie. You know, she's a fantastic actress from like many great Hollywood hits. I got nothing but love and respect for her.
yeah,
Beautiful woman too.
absolutely.
So, you guys want me to read some of these comments, or like give me?
Yeah, go on.
Absolutely.
Bring the mood down, Robert. Go on.
And before we actually read that, let me just note too about me kissing her ass because I'm doing it straight up. I love this woman, but I think that she's so charismatic that just like Robert said earlier, she carried the crew of the
Uh,
cast.
right.
She carried them like her character. She's so charismatic that she did a great job of keeping a heavy gravitational pull to her as a character on the plot.
Yeah.
Don't worry, Robert. He just thinks everything that was said well came from your mouth. It's all right.
I don't care about it, but go for it.
No, what you said, it was said by Ray, not by me. Okay, so I'm gonna read a short one, and I don't even know if that's even worth it, but just what it said is what make me twitch a little. And I'm not gonna name names because I don't want, I just want the content of the message, not, it's not
No pointing fingers.
I'm not pointing fingers. That's not my intention. So
No, and also you're not a patron, so we're not gonna make you famous here. I'm sorry.
no,
so,
no 15 minutes of fame, thanks to
But
me.
you'll know that we're reading your comment.
yeah. So the first comment that I'm gonna read is a 1 star for this movie, and is a maybe a sentence, maybe two. This was a huge disappointment. Even Star Trek, the motion picture, blows this one out of the water.
Comparing
He
apples
needs
and
water.
oranges.
He needs water. He needs water.
Hey, I wonder if we're going to have a bloodbath in the comment section on YouTube for this episode.
Bring it. I'm
Probably.
gonna reply to every single one of them.
Probably.
If we have a bloodbath, maybe I can make some more of this.
So why I feel gravitated towards that comment, right? And please let me know if you guys agree with me or not. I think Star Trek: The Motion Picture was an iconic film.
It was.
Agreed.
So
And also, just to note for you, guy, whoever it was that put that comment, that was not very great to say. But I think that the motion pictures is a great bridge for new generations to get into Star Trek that didn't before.
no, but he's talking about the motion picture. He's talking about the one that looks like 2001: Space Odyssey.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the
yeah.
vibe they were going for, and they hit it. But I mean, we
I like
now have the TikTok Reels Shorts generation, right? And they can't deal well with something that has a slow build like Star Trek: The Motion Picture.
TLDR, too long didn't read.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you brought that comment up, because that actually is what I get from people about the movie 2001: Space Odyssey. And if you guys want to hear our thoughts, please go down our back catalog. That's still one of our most downloaded episodes on the show. But the reason why I'm bringing it up is because we discussed in that one as well. Half of the people hated the movie, and half of the people loved the movie. It's one of those divisive movies.
Separating people by attention span.
Yeah, possibly. So the people that hated it, they thought it was very boring. And I know that Star Trek: The Motion Picture was going for that. And that's the reason why Star Trek: The Motion Picture is the way it is because they were trying to emulate 2001: Space Odyssey. And I think that's why Star Trek: The Motion Picture got the mixed fans. The mixed reaction, kind of like 2001: Space Odyssey did, where half the people said Star Trek: The Motion Picture is way too boring, it sucked, and the other one liked it. The same reaction. So I think whenever you do a sci-fi film with that kind of aesthetics, you're gonna get the same reaction, because half the people are not gonna get it. And I think that's what's going on. Now, do you feel, and another reason why I brought this comment up is, do you guys feel, Captain Chaos, a mad scientist, that this movie did the same thing in a different way? Meaning, um, it divided the audience based on the, what's the word that I'm trying to use? Basically, doing the same thing that Star Trek: The Motion Picture did, but not how they did it.
I think that yes, you can use that example. I also think that it was a bold move, but worth it, and many studios are doing it. They need to. This is the epicenter of something that can change an IP for future generations, which is adaptation. If you think about that, at some point, if it doesn't adapt, it's gonna fall behind. Like you see that with every IP. Like they eventually adapt and change some way or another and evolve. And Star Trek, they even have different flavors of it. You have different types of shows for each Star Trek. You know,
Bef- Before Ray answers that question, I wanna make a disclaimer. I am not claiming that Star Trek Section 31 is on par to Star Trek the Motion Picture or Space Odyssey. So please don't misunderstand when I said that. What I'm saying is, based on the mixed reaction, well, it's not even a mixed reaction. Most of these comments are straight out negative.
and they
Um,
feel spiteful, not coming from a place of real criticism
no,
that is unbiased.
I don't think. I mean, the one that I read, for example, right now, and
Doesn't sound unbiased. Doesn't sound unbiased to me.
I'm gonna read another one, but I don't think it sounded spiteful. Did it? Or am I misunderstanding, Ray?
Well, Ray is coming back in a little bit,
Oh, okay, okay.
but
So
but,
the
but
the
why don't you think like it felt like it was straight up to business? Like there's not a reason for it. There was just a very bland comparison that was not even pointing to anything good.
well, see, I don't think it was spiteful, but I think he was like I said it earlier in the show, right on point. He was disappointed. Because that's kind of like what I feel from the community, disappointment. And he
But
did say it at the
but the
beginning.
reaction, look, I can tell you my experience with the Acolyte. I did watch the Acolyte. Everybody was hating on the Acolyte, and then it was like a big division on the community. People, I liked it, but what I find out is many people, like we're talking about the TikTok brain people, they don't bother in going to watch it so they can have a negative. And what I realized that most of the people that were like trash talking it, they didn't even bother watching the show. So it's like, why would I even follow that? And that happens a lot. I'm not saying that these critics didn't watch it, but you could give to percentage that a lot of people are gonna follow that and not even bother to watch it or give it an opportunity.
Yeah, I think that and I like to call this the Cowboy Bebop effect.
Yes, yes,
People are going to read
definitely.
comments. They haven't watched the thing. They look at this comment. They say, "Oh, it was that bad. Nah, I'm not going to waste my time."
You want another big sci-fi great title that happened the same thing when he tried to adapt and change Caprica.
Dragon Ball.
Dragon Ball is not that, and it's still better than Snow White. So there's hope.
Shots
But
fired.
Caprica was a great example.
Yeah.
Caprica was a fantastic new adaptation of
Mhm.
Battlestar Galactica. I didn't even know it was Battlestar Galactica, and I got hooked on it when I told Robert. He told me that is Battlestar Galactica, and then he showed me Battlestar Galactica, and I connected the dots. But
It,
Caprica got canceled with
it is
one
one of
season.
the it's one of the things that I enjoyed about that is the fact that we get to see, in
How the cyborgs began, like
Cylons.
the
the
silence.
Cylons,
Cylons.
the chinky metally people.
We get to see Caprica too, because I mean, we got to see Caprica being blown up in the first episode, right? If you watch the original, right? We don't
Yes,
get to see
yes.
that
On
on
the
the
original, Galactica, you see Battlestar Galactica, you see Caprica blown up. In Caprica, you get to see a full season that is locked up in a week of how the first Cylon was created,
Mhm.
like the origins, like where all began, and it's a teenage girl. It's crazy.
Can I add 2 words to your diatribe that will put it into perspective for most people?
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
Space Terminator.
Yes. Yes. Space Terminator with a lot of teen trauma.
Yeah, yeah. But you put space in front of anything, it becomes cooler.
Yeah,
So
Yeah,
take
sure.
the Terminator franchise, put space in front of it, and you get Caprica,
it's official.
and then Battlestar Galactica.
Let me see how this sounds. Space Roadhead.
It's Space Robert. There you go. I'm gonna go by Space Robert going forward. So, Ray,
Robert, my question to that, or my response to that is: can you get any cooler?
can I get?
Can you actually get any cooler? Is putting space in front of your name going to help?
Well, if you don't look at me and just hear my name, yeah.
Space Rubber.
Okay, so there was a question that I was asking you before I realized that you weren't there because I'm busy looking at all the controls here in this.
You didn't read my PM saying BRB.
You don't get it, Ray. He doesn't have a computer in front of him like you and I. Like he's sitting on an armchair. He's got all this shit in front of him. He has a laptop close by, but the computer is like 5-6 feet away from him. So it's like he's seeing, and it's like a 21-inch, like 31-inch or 32-inch screen. It's not something big neither.
Yeah.
You know what Robert doesn't have this week?
He has the studio lights too that are blinding us.
Do
That's
you
why
know
I
what
use
Robert?
this.
Do you know what Robert doesn't have this week?
What?
He doesn't have his maid bringing him beers and scotch and stuff.
Yeah, but he already was flashing their bottles and shit.
But he had to be organized, didn't he?
Yeah, but I mean, if you're going somewhere and you don't want to miss anything on the checklist, go with Robert. You'll get it all, and you'll make sure to get it all. He'll give you hell about it because we don't want messed up trips, and it always is worth it.
Oh dear.
So,
so what question did you ask me, Space Robert, that I wasn't here to answer?
Okay, sure, Space Ray. I wasn't realize that you weren't there because I was on another screen. But the comment, I don't know if you got to hear the comment or
yes, I did.
Okay, so did you agree? This is like you. I don't hear malice. I hear disappointment.
I think I probably covered most of it in my first reaction, and I have to say that as we gain age and theoretically gain wisdom, you tend to look at things differently. We've talked about, watching something back when you're a teenager and then watching it again when you're in your 30s or 40s and getting a whole different take on it. I would suspect that the person who made that comment has a very limited approach to their sci-fi. They have expectations, and if those expectations aren't met, then they just don't engage. They don't look for the good. They just expect things to be a particular way, and if they don't get what they expect, it's a 1-star review.
Narrow vision.
Narrow vision, exactly.
You want me to go for one more? This is a little longer.
Yeah, sure.
And this one is a
the juice.
1.5 stars. It was done earlier than the one that I just read. It has a little bit more meat. And so, although I'm not saying the names, I do want to call out, I do appreciate that this person took the time to write, because this is something that we don't see. Even the one that I read earlier had meat, right? The comment, right? It gives me talk, it gets me.
It was a bone. Sorry.
Well, it was short, right? It was a sentence.
Let me put it this way. It felt like the person that comes and complains with no need for a solution.
No, but here's the thing. let me explain, because I do sincerely appreciate the one that I just read, the short one, because How many times have we read comments that could be maybe 3 words long that there's no meat to it whatsoever, right? There's one. I'm going to read one right here, right? And I'm avoiding those. It's that this was so bad. I just want the hour and a half of my life back in capital letters.
That sounds
No,
like Ray.
not fun, not fun, pure garbage that should have been towed into a black hole, toe into a black hole. Now, what can you gain from that comment?
Well, I know that person has no taste, and that made me laugh.
I mean, we're talking in reality, right, Ray? What do we get about that?
Again, that's like when you're having a problem and you're trying to work towards it, and somebody comes and complain without solution. It's like, shut up, then don't say anything.
Well, I'd have to say at least the person watched the show long enough to see the garbage scale towing the garbage.
Yeah.
So they at least watched most of the show to generate the opinion rather than not watching it all. Watching 10 minutes and giving up on it.
So
they tried to be funny because they want people to like them when they're saying negative comments.
Yes.
But I really do think that, and this is something that being part of this show has taught me, that even the worst, the show that you dislike the most, you can still find good things about it. There's still scenes that resonate. There's still characters that are awesome, but the whole thing just doesn't work for you. Mm-hmm. And I get that.
Mm-hmm.
I get that. Not everybody's going to like everything.
Yes.
Now, the three of us here are aware that this wasn't the best show out there, but it wasn't the worst either.
Exactly.
And it had a lot of...
It was the best. It was the best for me.
For deep thinkers, it had a lot of little Easter eggs and interesting things that we could discuss, or we would have finished the show by now.
Yeah.
So I still think it has a lot to recommend it.
Yeah.
And characters are not bland either. Characters have depth all across.
Exactly. Except for the mech guy. He was a complete cardboard cutout, but that was deliberate.
Yeah, but he got you all confused when the Vulcan was laughing at the beginning too. So he had his 5 minutes of fame. And
five and a half seconds more like, but anyway.
Well, yeah, but he got you like going like, oh, what the hell? Even Robert said it when we were doing the watch party, which if we weren't there, it's because you should be on our Discord channel. But when we were doing the watch party, the first thing that Robert said when they're on like in the bar, the first thing is like, why is that Vulcan laughing?
Yeah, there's no Vulcan laughing. So I was trying to bring his attention to the Vulcan.
And it's true. Like there's no Vulcan laughing. So like this guy was like a riddle.
So when the Vulcan was laughing, I was trying to do the Spock one eyebrow raise thing. I was trying to do it. It's hard to do. Yeah, that one. That's what I was trying to do.
Interesting. So going back to what I was saying, even though they're negative comments, even though they're 1 stars, these ones that I selected, I can get things out of it because I can get a sense of why. They're not just telling me, except for the last one I read as an example, right? But the 2, I haven't read one of them, and I read the short one. I'm about to read the long one, but on those, I appreciate the comments, and I thank the people who left the comments because I can get a sense of why they didn't like the thing. Because in most of the negative comments that I have read, and I don't know your experience, Ray or Gio, but in most of these negative comments, it's usually it's garbage. Next comment, it sucks.
Gio has stepped away, by the way.
Okay, so but you see what I'm talking about, right?
It wasn't a put down with no meat. They actually had a small amount of usable data as far as why they thought that.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, and I thank them because, like, for example, the one that I did read, the short one, I can sympathize and I understand what he said. He feels huge disappointment. It's right on the comment. And I can understand that from the point of view of me wanting a Section 31 show or movie that shows Section 31 perspective, looking at let me rephrase that. Looking at Starfleet from the Section 31 perspective. I get that. I understand that. I might not agree with his comments on Section 31, but I understand. It's not like oh, this movie sucks. 1 star, right? And I appreciate that. The other one that I'm about to read has a lot more meat to it. I also disagree, but I understand their perspective, right? It's all about perspective. We become a better person by being exposed to different perspectives, right? And understanding that it's okay to have a different perspective. It's okay for you to hate something and someone to like it, right? Things are not created for it's. And we said, I think we said it, Ray, too many times, where it is impossible to make a thing that everyone would love.
Sure.
It's impossible. So the comment that I'm about to read has at least half a star more. It's a star and a half. It says Section 31 makes Suicide Squad 2016 look like Suicide Squad 2021. There's so little Star Trek in the Star Trek movie. It feels like a parody trying to skirt around it to keep it from getting sued. A predictable and boring plot involving a galaxy destroying superweapon, like we didn't get enough of those in Discovery, and poorly written quirks, dialogues. The best thing I can say about this movie is that I hope it opens doors for future self contained shorts, Star Trek stories, but I doubt that will happen. So, how do you feel about that comment?
Although I appreciate the lengthiness, I feel like they said a lot, but they didn't say anything. Because I don't agree with saying that they have bland character dialogue. That is not true. I disagree.
I don't know that
I
the
don't,
character dialogue was bland. I think it just didn't land every time.
let me ask you, I know tricky. Is there a lot of juice about what Section 31 and the people in it all across the Star Trek? As
I
they go in depth on how it works?
I think that is the problem. And Ray, let me know if you feel the same way or not. I think that is the problem. We have this secretive organization that we know nothing about based on and we can only base our opinions on the episodes that we do get that shows you how they operate and what they do. And the fandom wants more.
Honestly, and I'm gonna get hate for this, but it feels almost like every complaint about the show is because you didn't give us color coding crew.
Well, Section 31 wasn't even color coded.
Exactly.
For every
That's what I'm
episode,
saying. It's not a complaint that they didn't get their comfort of visual of what they always seen because it's totally different.
one of the coolest things that I enjoy about Section 31 is their communicators. Do you know how the communicators look like, Gio?
No,
They're black. There's
but
the
what is it?
well, you seen the normal communicators?
Oh yeah, yeah, got it.
Let me see if I can find a comparison. Uh, let me see if I can find. Okay, so I'm gonna. Okay, so how can I think I'm gonna let. Can I have? I think the best person who could display these is Ray. I always have a problem trying to share an image. Um, so the normal communicators. Let me see if I can.
Your fault for having a good computer, Ray.
The what?
Yeah, I get that.
I did find an image here. I can probably. I don't know that I can share this. So I put it on chat. Let me see. Can I download it? No, I can't.
Hang on. I'm accessing.
Oh, you are. Okay. I was trying to do it, but yeah, it's a little difficult for me. So basically, communicators. If we look at the next generation as an example, I mean, they all vary depending on which era of Star Trek you're looking at. But typically, see that's the next generation communicator and badge. That is your typical, communicator. You press it, you can talk. Obviously, if you go down to like the Star Trek original series, they don't use that. They use the flip communicators. But those are, I think we started seeing those after the next generation on, where they are actually pinned to their uniform. So when you look at a Section 31 officer, it is black completely, the entire thing. And I think that is so freaking cool. Did
Nice,
you
nice.
did you find one? Let me see, Star Trek. And of course, if you are listening to our show on Spotify or any of our podcatchers, you might want to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're actually showing an image of a Star Trek communicator from the next generation era. So let's see.
I've got one. Hang on.
Oh, okay, perfect. And I don't know what it is about it, but I find it really, really cool. And when that is a cool one. Nice. So have you seen those, Gio, before? That's a Section 31 badge.
No, you know that I have it, man.
Yeah, when they flash those, people are like, oh, okay. You know. Things are-
FBI, CIA.
Awesome.
These are the guys. These are the guys. The guys that use these are the guys that went to look for Jet Li in the one.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a different
It's-
department. It's the time. I always forget the name of that department. Holy crap. The time, and they don't work with Section 31. Let
Well,
me
it's a different universe.
was it the temporal
temporal.
yeah, temporal agency or something?
I'm
Come on, Google, help me out here.
yeah, and we're only talking about that because
Department of Temporal Investigations.
yeah,
Thank you, Memory Alpha. Memory Alpha is.
yeah.
Nice.
So yeah, the Department of Temporal Investigation, and the reason why I wanted to bring this up is because we were having a conversation on the Discord again on our watch party. We were actually watching the Strange New Worlds, great TV show. If you haven't watched it, and they're talking about in the episodes we're discussing. Luan was trying to avoid Kirk because she has gone in back in time and met a version of him, and they fall in love. And Gio was asking why she couldn't just tell him or tell. So I was trying to explain that the Department of Temporal Investigations got involved, and she was warned that this kind of things cannot leak out. And because and you cannot understand, because she could cause a problem in the fabric of space by changing due to information, changing what is the present for her, that is basically the future for many and the Federation. And we get to see that if you watch Discovery, right? There's a lot of talk about a lot of things that we get to see uh, about the future that we didn't get to see on the normal Star Trek. Okay, so I think we're at the part of the show where we ask the question in the middle, and is for all of you out there who are new to the show, this is the question that when we ask if there was a scene or moment in the thing that we're covering that was really impressive to you. It's like when someone talks to you about the movie, it's the first thing that comes to mind because it made that much of an impression on you. Do you guys
I've got mine, but it's probably the same one as Geo.
okay, let's see. Yeah,
When
Give me yours.
Georgiou basically tells the operative that she had them pegged from the moment they walked in. And she's so smug about it. She's like, I saw you walk in, you've got the Delton, you've got the shape, the cameloid, you've got the she's just like, and he's like, oh fuck. We were made as soon as we arrived.
Where her pleasant fake face goes just serious, and she's like, "Cut the crap."
Yeah.
yeah, cut the
And he
crap.
goes like, "Excuse me."
He's
I was like, "Oh yeah, bro, drop
cut
mic."
the crap. What is Section 31 doing on my ship?
That's when it was like, "Drop mic, bro." Bah.
That was awesome. That was really cool.
Hell yeah.
And the beautiful part about it would, Michelle Yeoh did such a fantastic job with Georgiou's character, but Georgiou is playing with them because she's bored.
Yep. Yes.
It's not like, oh, we got to save the galaxy, we've got to protect the people. None of this goody.
What's my incentive?
None of this goody Starfleet crap. She's bored, so she's playing with them.
I mean, she did say Starfleet is where fun goes to die, right?
That's right.
Yeah. I think that the only thing that got her really invested on the situation was when she saw the weapon.
Yeah.
And she got attacked. I think that when she got attacked, she got entertained by it. She was having fun, and it got serious. But the moment that she fell through the wall and got stuck, and she saw the weapon, that was the no turning point.
It became personal.
It became personal. Yeah, it was like it touched a nerve.
She'd been betrayed because she ordered that thing destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And not only was it not destroyed, but it was brought into what is equivalently the mirror universe from the Terran Empire against her orders.
And so it created a lot of tension. It created a lot of tension because then the airship Section 31 people are like, so what is this? Like they didn't even know what they're trying to get.
Exactly.
And she's not telling them, and she's saying that's mine.
But you know what? You know what? Something also for the audience that they might want to know. Our very own Captain Chaos didn't know what that was either.
Nope.
And he kept on asking, "What is it?" And what did I say? Just give
I'll
it.
tell you about it. I'll tell you about
it. Come on, Jen. You got to admit that it's not very often that Robert holds something up.
That's okay. At the end of the day,
if he's going to do it for anything, it's going to be Star Trek.
Yeah. At the end of the day, what it was just a pocket version of a Death Star.
Yeah.
Way worse than that.
Let me just minimize it and please our fans.
Okay.
It was a pocket Death Star.
Okay, so who wants to go next?
No, I mean, I agree with Ray, and I kind of like added to that.
I knew that he'd have the same favorite scene.
So you got the same favorite?
It's what I tell you. I got nothing but love for the main character, even though she's a villain. I don't think that she's a bad person. There's a difference between survival and being indoctrinated in a way that it gets normal, and doing it out of malice. If you look at it, I think that she was even humane. She could have killed her family in many ways. She could have burned them alive in the house. She could have sliced them up. She didn't do that.
Yeah. So the question again for the audience is, what was the scene or moment in the film that really called your attention? Gio, you had the same moment as Ray, right?
Yeah. When she kind of like show the agents of Section 31. You're not showing your panties. I have them here already. I took them off and you haven't realized.
Yep. That's exactly how I describe it.
Yep.
She pantsued them.
Yep.
Okay, so I guess I have many favorite moments on this film, but if I had to pick one, It was the moment where Section 31 was explaining to Philippa what they were going to do with her, right? So they were going to go in, they're going to knock her out. Then the Cameloid was going to pretend to be her, and they're going to lure the guy into the room and steal the thing, and blah blah blah. And her answer was, "Oh,
I
that
got a
one."
better idea.
No, that's not the answer I like. The answer
But
was, the answer was, "Oh, that is cute."
Mm.
oh, that's true.
Like,
That is
yeah,
true.
like you were going to do that to me.
That is true.
I was like, oh my freaking God. She is so badass. She's so freaking badass. I really enjoy that. I mean, it's a short, it's a short sentence. They shows her,
Yep.
and they were not gonna, even if they were gonna go for that, they
They
weren't
were
gonna,
not gonna be able to do that.
no, no, there's no freaking way. They don't know
They
George.
pro- they probably we're gonna disable themselves by trying to do something to her.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, that was a fun one. Um, okay, so um let's see. You guys had anything else more to add?
No,
Before
no. I think that we're good for the final thoughts. I guess.
Okay, so this is the point of the show where we ask, what was your last impression of the film? Now, let me explain for the new audience. This usually is like when it's something that came out years ago, right? It takes a whole different meaning, because the answer that I'm looking for is, your last impression of the thing we're covering from the very first time you watched it all the way throughout the many rewatch until the last time that you watched this film. Now, that might take a different meaning for me because I maybe have a couple of years. Is it a couple of years? No, that was like, when was
A
it?
couple of months because it's 2025.
Yeah, it's still, this is not a movie that uh
This is a movie that you got to anticipate and watch when it came out, right?
yeah, I might have a couple of months on top of you guys, but it's probably going to be the same answer. I like to say that we're all fairly new when it comes to this film. A different story was from our like previous episode, like Silent Running, that came out years in the past. So for this film, and I don't know who wants to go first. The question is, what is your last impression of the film?
I can go and I'll be brief. I think that this was a good movie. I think it's a great pilot, and I think that the series when it comes is gonna do justice and probably answer questions to people that were not pleased with the movie. I think that they should give it a chance, and getting a show probably a show might actually get them to rewatch it with different eyes. But I think that this movie opens a whole world of possibilities for a new blend of Star Trek, and they're always doing that with great success. So I got nothing negative to say about this movie. I really liked it.
Well, all I can say to that, Gio, is that based on the reactions on this film, I hope, I really hope they make a show. Ray, you want me to go next or you want to go next?
Yeah, you go next.
Okay. So this one, and I'm gonna collect from all the things that I kind of said peppered throughout this episode. Um it was a long anticipated story that I wanted to see into fruition. I believe is not the story that I was expecting, which it explained the huge disappointment within the community. I do understand it, but I do enjoy this film. It is not what I expected, but it was a good. In my opinion, it still serves the purpose of giving me a perspective into an organization that I have no idea how it works. Um, I do feel that as a sci-fi fan, you should at least watch this film, even if you have to take the words out of a Star Trek words out of the film. Even if you had to do that and just watch it as a sci-fi film, I think it would be it might give you a different perspective, because I don't know if I'm mistaken in saying this is the major thing that I notice in the community is just disappointment. And that's the reason why I said I do understand where you're coming from, because I was expecting also what I like to think is what you guys would be expecting as well from Section 31. But that the fact that I didn't get what I wanted, that I still want, doesn't take away from the fact that I enjoy and I like this film. And I think that if you can see it from that perspective and just give it a chance and watch it, you might come to appreciate. Now, I do want to hear from you, especially if you took the time to, like, you listen to us here talk about it. You maybe you hated the film and you gave it a second chance. And I want to hear from you if that was enough for you to, like, give it a chance, watch it. That's number one. Number two is, what is your thought the second time around? Did your opinion change? Because as a Trekkie, I enjoy the film. And uh, I mean, we had this discussion even, starting from the watch party and migrating into these episode. Gio, you remember I mentioned how many times have I said this? It's like I was watching a sci-fi film,
Yep,
right?
definitely, definitely.
So I do understand you, but I feel that just because it wasn't something you're expecting, it was not something you were expecting. It shouldn't be a block for you to not enjoy the thing, right? And it's okay if
This
you
movie cannot be watched with preconceptions. You cannot watch it with preconceptions.
Yeah, I guess that's what I'm trying to say. And I agree with that comment 100%. So I enjoy this film. If you haven't watched it, if you're not a Trekkie, doesn't matter. It doesn't really have. I mean, you can enjoy, if you're a Trekkie. Obviously, you can enjoy the different things that come into play, and you understand. You have the backstory. Is what I'm trying to say. But if you're never watched Star Trek in your life, you will still enjoy this film. Um, and I think that's one thing that I can talk about this Star Trek Section 31 is the actual movie was created with the original intention of how a Star Trek film, a Star Trek episode was originally shot. The original, the original series, Star Trek, where you could actually pick an episode, and that's why they call it. Was it episodic? What was the name? I can't remember the terminology, but you can pick any episode and watch that episode, and you would understand it from the beginning to end, not having watched the others. And that's something that we kind of lost through the years on Star Trek. And I'm glad to see that the creators of Star Trek are coming back. One big example is Strange New Worlds. And the second example that I can say is this movie, Section 31. So if you're not a sci-fi fan, I mean, if you're not a Star Trek fan, and you are a sci-fi fan, I think you're going to enjoy this film. If you're a Star Trek fan, just like our very own Captain Chaos said, put your preconceptions, leave it at the door just momentarily, and watch this movie and just give it a chance. Because that's one of the things that, I mean, I'm a Trekkie and I don't understand the negativity around this film. I really, really enjoy this film. And that is my final thought. So
Is it my turn?
I think it might be your turn.
Woohoo! Alrighty. So, to bookend what I think about this show, I've come up with a quote. You can quote me on this. Expectation is the harbinger of disappointment.
Yeah, I agree.
If you have expectations on something and it delivers, great. You've got what you wanted. You've got the payoff that you expected, and you're happy. But if on the more likely side, you don't get your expectations filled or not filled entirely, you're going to come out with a sour puss. And that's what's happened with most of the comments online. People expected it to be more like classic Trek, and it wasn't. They had expectations of it, and they ramped up their expectations to a ridiculous level. And the first outing didn't reach their expectations, and they were disappointed, and that shows in the ratings. Does that mean that it's a bad show? No. It just means that people had stupid expectations and they weren't fulfilled. But that has no reflection on what actually was provided because they looked at it through their tinted goggles of expectation. And having worked on this show for as long as I have now, I have learnt not to walk in with expectations. Thank you, guys. You taught me that. And I enjoy a lot more things that I wouldn't have otherwise enjoyed because I go into things without expectations. I go in and just analyze what I'm shown. I compare it to other things once I've thought about it, but I don't walk in there saying, I think this is going to be like this. No, bad, naughty. That's not what science fiction is about. Science fiction is about imagining worlds yet to be, not saying the worlds that are yet to be have to be like this, or I'm not going to enjoy it.
And Star Trek is all about that, to be precise.
I mean, the whole thing is Star Trek's got such a long and illustrious history that it's built up and up and up, and people expect it to stay up here and do exactly the same thing on the same trajectory. And if it doesn't, they're like, oh. And that's the problem with this show. It's not the show itself, it's the fans that have the problem.
If I could make the social experiment and tell the director to make the same movie but given color-coded T-shirts, I bet that it would be a total success.
He's so hung up on
it's like, now is Star Trek. We got our colors back. Just make sure that the Rangers die.
Nobody said Stardate 1234.56.
Just don't give Georgiou a red shirt.
Yeah.
I think it will make that red shirt look good.
You know, even if Georgiou doesn't start out with a red shirt, I think she'd end up with one because of all the blood she spills.
Yeah, pretty much.
But anyway, I digress. Okay, so what did they get right? All the throwbacks, all the call-outs, all the Easter eggs, they were fantastic. I mean, we've spent most of our time talking about those because they were on point. They were so cool. What was it a bad screenplay? It had its issues. It wasn't perfect, but you know, for something that's angled as a pilot, the first pilot of Star Trek did not get up. They had to do it again, and if it wasn't for the lady of Star Trek, Lucille Ball, we would not have 50 years of Star Trek. So thank you, Lucille Ball. Really appreciate that.
Thank you.
A parallel that I can draw in from outside the Star Trek universe is Babylon 5. Babylon 5 was almost cancelled after its first season because it was very wooden. The acting wasn't great and the stories were a little bit predictable, but it had just enough mystery in it to get a second season, and the second season took off, and the rest is history. Babylon 5 is a fantastic story, despite the fact that the pilot was almost considered trash, and they had to replace half the actors.
It's like this movie. It's a Star Trek without campiness.
But I mean, not all sci-fi lands well on its first attempt, and not all ensemble casts shine together like the original series crew did in the movies. They had spent so much time working together, and they knew their characters back to front, and they just worked because everybody knew them, and they knew their characters.
Yeah, and being there was not cool before, and now it's cool, but you got a lot of posers.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is that this ensemble cast and this idea needs time to mature. It's getting absolutely panned because it's not the same as before, but people aren't giving the flavor time to mature. So you've got something that could become great, but is not giving the opportunity to do so. And I think that's a real shame. Now, the only character in this show that has any significant screen time is Georgiou. Sure, Garrett, as an older captain, has appeared before, but it's only once. So, there's one data point, one episode point, which was a great episode. I mean, I love yesterday's Enterprise. But when you've got one character that is well known and is really strong, really deep, really nuanced, and you try and have other actors bring new characters in around it, they're going to struggle, and they did. Because Michelle Yeoh is a fantastic actress. She knows that character well from having played it on multiple episodes of Discovery. And so she walked in and she knew what was what. But the other characters, the other actors, were still trying to get into character. They were still trying to build the depth into the character. And some of them didn't do so well. Some of them didn't last so long. So they didn't really even get an opportunity to do that. So when you've got I'm talking in astrological terms, when you've got a really bright star like Georgiou, and you've got a whole bunch of small, young, up-and-coming stars like all the other characters, of course, the well-developed, shining brightly character/star is going to outshine the rest of them. And that is what happened here. Rather than them being all on the same level, you had Michelle Yeoh's character up here, and the rest of them were down here. And that creates an imbalance. And that was part of the issue, that there was an imbalance in the characters because one was really well known and the rest were unknowns. And I only realized this through our conversation today. And then I think that if you gave those other characters time to embed, for the actors to get to know their characters, get into their heads and show a little bit more depth, that it would all even out and you'd end up with a really good ensemble cast and a great show. But it needs time to do that. And sadly, when you get one outing, pilot, and you don't quite get that matchup right, which they didn't because you had this really well-known, really bright, really deep and nuanced character versus all these relative unknowns, then
sacrifices have to be made.
It didn't come over well. And it's just like the original series of Star Trek's first outing. They didn't get up. People didn't like it. It didn't get turned into a series. But thankfully, that wasn't the end of it. And I'm hoping, upon hope, that Section 31 gets enough support that despite the panning, it gets a chance to mature and become a great series, which it has the potential to be.
Yeah, I agree.
So I don't know if CBS or Paramount Plus, I don't know if Paramount Plus will be listening to us on this, but I do hope that you give it a chance because I think it's got legs. I think it could be really good. You're going to have to get some script writers in who can put a little bit more flair in there, get some scenes that really pop, and build those ensemble cast characters that are not Georgiou up so that they can act on the same level as Michelle Yeoh, and then you'll have a winner on your hands. That's my last thoughts.
Awesome.
All right.
Okay. So I guess we are ready for the next segment.
The science and sci-fi.
You're killing me here, Robert. You're killing me. You keep bringing up these brand new shows that have no time to percolate. They haven't got into the consciousness of people yet. How am I supposed to find science for that? I mean, really?
Yeah. Well, even for Star Trek, right? Which, by the way, is one of the most science driven shows compared to other shows that they treat as the advances of technology like magic. But I do understand your point there, Ray, because um, there's a phrase that was coined after Star Trek. Is called technobabble.
Mhm.
And those are things that were created to give you the illusion that on how and make you feel that things are normal and how things work and how they should work. So you have a name and an explanation of that thing and how they work. So yeah, Star Trek is full of that, and it's kind of hard to find real science behind it because of that, in my opinion. Do you agree with that? Or I mean, uh, don't get me wrong, it is one of the most science-driven shows with science, because at least they attempt with Technobabble to show you science and how that work, but it's not real science, right?
Mm.
Now,
Well, a lot of the technobabble is based on theoretical physics,
yes, yeah,
but it's not actually proven. So,
exactly.
you know,
So that's one of the things that the reason why I loved Technobabble is because of that. It's like playing at science with logical steps, if that makes any sense. Um, but for this show, I think we could actually talk about the multiverse because this actually was one of the main um, how can I say this, main device plot used in this plot. Um, just with the explanation of how um, the Emperor Georgiou and where she came from and what her whole ordeal was. Um, so again, multiverse is the concept of it. It's not proven, right? There's no, at least that I know of, that I have read of, and please correct me if you heard otherwise, right? And Geo, but it is a theory that has been discussed at length in many multiple articles, scientific journals, and within the scientific community. I do have a blurb that I can read that kind of explains for those of you who are, were not exposed thanks to like Marvel making it mainstream, but I'm sure that some people still don't get the concept of what that is. So the multiverse is a scientific hypothesis suggesting that our universe might be just one of many. In physics, this idea emerges from several well-established theories. For instance, quantum mechanics, especially the many worlds interpretation, proposes that every quantum decision branches into a parallel reality. That's if you remember back on our previous episodes, there was a movie that we covered called Quantum Suicide,
oh,
uh,
yes.
and that kind of leads to that concept where they're saying that, and also there's even a conversation around how there might not actually be a death because of the quantum. So playing around the quantum suicide concept, and to explain the quantum suicide is that let's say for example you have and this is actually in the um in the discussion, the theoretical discussion of the topic, is let's imagine that there's a gun that is attached to a machine that can actually read the entanglements, right? So if you go one side, it would shoot. If you go the other side, it would not shoot. So what they're saying that there's going to be a universe where the gun was shot and killed the person in the experiment, and simultaneously there will be another universe where that person is alive because that gun was never shot. So it's talking about the branches. They are the quantum decision branches in parallel realities. There's going to be these branches that are going to break apart and break apart, and that's what's going to create the multiple universes based on this concept, on this theory that I'm reading about. Similarly, cosmic inflation theory, which explains the rapid expansion of the universe after the Big Bang, allows for bubble universes forming independently with different physical laws. And this is something that we were kind of talking about, and I can't remember what episode we're talking about, and how there could be a universe that is inversed. Oh yeah, we were talking about in Tenet. So where everything is in reverse, everything is backwards. So see how this theory plays well into so many of the IPs that we covered. um, then we move into string theory, right? String theory also hints at multiple possible solutions, each corresponding to a different universe. While there's no direct evidence yet, the multiverse remains a compelling framework for explaining why our universe seems finely tuned for life. So, yeah, I am one of the believers on this theory. I know that it's kind of like 50-50, right? There are, which is still okay. I mean, especially since it's just a theory, it hasn't been proven scientifically. There's no experiments that we could possibly do at this moment to prove or disprove this theory. So it is okay to be on one side or the other of this argument. I happen to be on the side of the multiverse because it just makes sense in my head. When you wake up in the morning, you have multiple decisions to make, right? And every decision can change the outcome of your reality at that moment. But there are other universe where all your possible decisions were actually taken, and it branches up into a multiverse of other yous that have taken different avenues. And that's actually the concept behind the another film that we cover on this show. It's like Everything Everywhere all at once. So like you wake up in the morning, and let me see if I can paint a scenario, right? I wake up in the morning. The alarm rings, right? And I have a decision. I can either get up or press the snooze button.
And stay in bed and wee yourself, because that would be
Exactly.
bad. That's one decision that I don't have to make. I just have to get up.
So this one tells me, this theory tells me that that decision was the birth of a new multiverse, because both possible decisions were taken at the same time based on the quantum entanglement theory. The quantum particle is superposition, meaning that is in all possible states at one until you take a decision, until you observe. And then when you open and observe the particle, then it takes its form. Now, the reason why I feel the multiverse is my theory of choice is because I still feel, even when you look at that quantum particle and it has taken its form when you observe it, what that tells me is it lets you know which side of reality you are, because the other superpositions on that particle has also been revealed to other sides of you in other universes. So that's just one reality. And in the same way, I feel about decisions that you make. Like what I just started explaining. When you wake up in the morning, you have a choice: pressing the snooze button or getting up. There's going to be a universe where you press the snooze button, and maybe your reality is the one where you got up. And that right there is responsible for creating, now there are two universes from that decision. So now those two universes, and the one that you are um, uh, snoozing, you know, you're not getting up right away. Maybe you got out and you're late for work. Now you got to take decisions on that universe that create other universes. Now let's move on to the one that you got up early. You know, maybe you got up and you say, okay, should I go to work or am I going to get coffee first? That's a split, creating more universes. And just add all those decisions, pile it up one on top of the other, and you'll see what I say, that the multiverse, all the branches get created. And it's an infinite number of realities. And I'm just talking about present, right? Let's go back in the future. Go back in when you were born and the decisions that were made, and how if you follow the show long enough, you know that we are and actually Captain Chaos said it at the beginning of the show as well. We are the results of our surroundings and our decisions and everything that we experience, our experiences, our perspectives, all this stuff. So just taking different decisions will make you a different person, even though you are genetically and biologically the same person. So I think I'm going to stop there because I can speak for hours about this. And I want to hear what you guys have to say about that, if you agree with what I just mentioned.
The multiverse theory is the basis of the novel I'm writing.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
So, I mean, it is pertinent.
Awesome. Yeah, I guess you know how I feel when we talk about quantum and multiverses. Don't get me started.
I just like to be able to peek into the Terran universe and see Geo without the beard.
Oh, yes.
It would be interesting.
Yeah, me too.
I have photos from the past for that.
Oh,
and he's not going to be chaotic in there.
No,
he's chaotic.
He's going to be Mr. Law and Order.
The beard stain, buddy.
In all universes, the beard stays.
I got bad news. The beard stain.
Awesome. Okay,
He's
the leader of the Beady Boys after all.
He is not like in the movie The One. All of his versions have beard.
Yeah, the one that doesn't have a beard gets killed right away.
He dies of a cold because his face got cold.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Just like they do in anime, colds are terrible, terrible things.
Yeah. That's all I got. Unless you guys have anything.
Hey, that's more than I had. So well done. Golf clap.
Awesome.
Well, that kind of brings us to the end of the show. Of course, the discussion doesn't have to end here. We have a Discord. You can join our Discord and discuss this and other sci-fi IPs with us there. In fact, we'd love you to do so. You can, if you're watching the video on YouTube, which is a month after the pod has been released, you can scan that QR code right there, and that will take you straight to our Discord if you have Discord already. If you don't have Discord already, you will need to sign up. But it is free, and once you've signed up, then you can join our Discord and a whole bunch of other Discords with other topics or ideas discussed which you might be interested in. I have a bunch, and I'm pretty sure these guys have a bunch of different things as well. But a lot of mine are to do with Alita Battle Angel, not surprisingly. Yeah, so join us on our Discord. We'd love to see you there. And remember that any social environment, you get out what you put in. So a lot of people join our Discord, don't say anything, and then disappear a few weeks later. That's not quite the point of a Discord. Join the Discord, stick your head into general, say hi, tell us what you like, start a conversation, and we'll join in. So we'd love to have you. We'd love to talk about our sci-fi to you and your sci-fi to us. We'd like to hear what you like. And who knows, it might bring up a new sci-fi for us that we can then cover on the pod. So that would be awesome. So do join us and let us know what you like. We have a couple of websites. The first one is sciencefictionremnant.com. That is the platform for where you can get our latest release podcast, and our back catalogue is there as well. You can also see some short reads there on topics to do with science and science fiction. They're pretty short, 4 or 5 minutes each. So you can read through those, have your mind not necessarily blown, but certainly topics for overthinkers to think about as we do, and then we write them down, don't we, Robert? Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, so check out that website and catch our latest podcast. And you can also go back into the past of the podcast and have a listen to the other episodes, of which there's 220 something now.
Yeah, we're out there.
Mm. We also have another website that's in its infancy. It's called thisissci-fi.net. That's the one for the creators. It needs a bit of help from the creators to help us shape it into what you'd like it to be. So do check out that website and join if you would like, and we'd like your input on what you'd like to see there. And we'd also like you to tell us about your creations there so that we can get that information out on the This Is Sci-Fi hashtag. We have a Substack. So what Substack is a information dissemination platform, usually in short bite-sized pieces. The Substacks release information on interesting topics to do with the topic of that Substack. Ours is obviously sci-fi and science, which is no big surprise there. Our short reads from our website are repeated there. And you can either use Substack by going in at your leisure and viewing the topics that have come up from the Substacks that you're subscribed to, or you can have it set up to deliver them to you daily or weekly to your email to make it nice and easy breezy to read those. So do consider Substack and join us on ours to easily get access to our short reads. We're also on Threads, which is part of Instagram. It's kind of like the friendly X. And we've been getting a lot of engagement there with sci-fi fans. So do join us over there, get the conversations going, and we love to talk about sci-fi over there. And we'd love to see you as part of the conversations in Sci-Fi and Threads. We have a Buy Me a Coffee. It's a way to support the podcast if you consider what we're doing worth anything to you, and hopefully you do. So you can put a few dollars towards the podcast there. That one, there's no set limit. There's no regular payments. It's just however much you like to put in there. And that will go towards running the podcast, which is covered at the moment by Robert. And of course, it's not free to run a podcast. So we'd really appreciate it if you could help the podcast out on that platform with however many dollars you could spare. We have a hotline. You can leave us a message. You can call 1305-563-6334. That's 1305-563-6334. That number is available worldwide. You need the one if you're outside the continental United States. And you can leave a message there for us telling us what you thought of this episode or one of our back catalogue or any other topic to do with sci-fi, or tell us about what you're creating. And if you're okay with it, we will actually play your message on the podcast. If you don't want us to play it, that's fine. You can just leave a message for us. You could even leave Gio his first ever 1-star review, which he's still waiting on. So if you're a Star Trek fan who really dislikes something, Gio said he would love to hear about it. So do leave us a message there. Leave him his first 1-star review, and you too will go down in the annals of science fiction remnant history as making him legit. We really love that. Again, thank you for joining us. We do appreciate you listening to the podcast or watching us on YouTube a month later. We do hope that you've been enjoying our conversation, and we do hope you'll join us again either in the next podcast or on the Discord, where we talk more about sci-fi and our love of sci-fi. And we hope to hear about your love of sci-fi as well, because we all love sci-fi. That's why you're listening to this podcast in the first place. And we hope you'll join us again for the next episode of Science Fiction Remnant. Bye for now.
See you next time.